Chapter 161. The Nephilim. Something cracked. Not space. Not a star. Not even a bone. It was deeper. Somewhere inside Joshua, something broke open. He didn't scream. He exhaled. A shuddering breath that didn't belong to a man anymore. Kaler, no, the root god stopped mid-step. His white eyes narrowed, the vines around his shoulders twitching like they sensed it too. Male's broken scales hovered in stillness, frozen in balance. But even he tilted his head, curious. Joshua didn't glow this time. He burned. Golden light pulsed once, then inverted. Darkness bled into the cracks of reality around him, followed by crimson arcs of lightning. His skin didn't just shine. It peeled, like a shell being torn away. And beneath it, something older. Older than law. Older than balance. Older than roots. Horns. Not large. Not towering. But ancient. Black. Twisted. And beautiful. They curled up from his skull like forgotten crowns, each one etched with runes that pulsed of their own accord. His remaining sleeve shredded. The tattoo running up his arm started moving. It slithered like it was alive, then lifted off his skin entirely. The ink turned into chains made of shadows, swirling around him, binding nothing but dancing like fire. His eyes opened. Not blue, not gold, black, with thin, vertical slits of red in the center. Demonic. He flexed his hand once. The void blinked. Behind him, wings unfolded. Not two. For the first pair, black as night, feathered, vast and rippling like a storm. The second, skeletal, like a dragon's, glowing with cursed sigils and demonic flames. They moved together, graceful, menacing, wrong in all the right ways. Male's expression shifted. Not fear, but concern. That meant something. Joshua floated higher. His voice dropped, not deeper, but truer. You should have killed me earlier. The root god smiled, tilting his head. You think that matters now? Joshua didn't reply. He moved, faster than thought. One moment he hovered, the next he was in front of Kaler, fist buried in his chest.
No viñes. No shelves.
Just impact. Kaler's body snapped backward, spiraling, roots flailing, bark shattering. He crashed through 5 asteroids, a jungle planet, and an entire dream realm before catching himself midair. He looked down. A hole. Through his chest. It was already healing, but slower. Much slower. Joshua appeared above him, silent, and kicked downward. Boom! Kaler smashed into a molten world. The planet imploded. Not exploded, imploded. Joshua didn't wait. He folded space, arrived behind Kaler again, and summoned a weapon. No chant, no cast. Just will. A spear formed, long, black, wrapped in living runes and flaming threads. The tip pulsed with a heartbeat. He swung. Kaler blocked, barely, with a vine arm grown mid-motion. It snapped. The spear stabbed into his shoulder, spinning, drilling through root and bark until it burst out his back. Kaler roared, grabbed the weapon and ripped it out. But it didn't vanish. It burned. Inside him, like it hated being removed. Demon, Kaler hissed. No, Joshua said, hovering, blood-red shadows crawling across his wings. Nephilim. Kaler froze. Even Male flinched. That word. Not demon. Not angel. Something between. Something beyond. Joshua spread his arms, and the chains from his skin unfurled. They lashed across space, binding laws, tearing through realities, cracking concepts like glass. He stepped forward. The void trembled. Kaler surged back, vines whipping through galaxies, each one thick enough to strangle stars. He roared and twisted, summoned an entire planet of trees and launched it. Joshua sliced through it. One swing. The planet shattered.
No flare. No shockwave.
Just a clean, dead silence. Kaler grew desperate. He expanded his body, thousands of roots reaching everywhere, dragging timelines into himself, absorbing more, feeding more. But Joshua was faster now. Too fast. He zipped forward, sliding under a vine the size of a mountain, grabbed it, and bit into it. His teeth gleamed. Kaler screamed. The root died instantly, blackening, crumbling, turning to dust. "Stop feeding," Joshua muttered. "You're done growing." He zipped again. This time he grabbed Kaler's neck, lifted him, one-handed. Wings flared behind him, casting a crimson halo across the broken sky. Kaler snarled, stabbed a root into Joshua's side. It didn't go in. The tip cracked. Joshua looked down at it, then back at Kaler. "My turn." He spun once and flung Kaler toward Male. "Hey, balance boy," he called. Male blinked. "What?" "Trade hits." Male caught Kaler mid-flight, in the gut, with a palm glowing with absolute balance. Kaler exploded. Not body, not mind. His essence. The root god was shredded. Vines, bark, green light, screams. All flying in every direction. Male didn't flinch. He stepped back, calm as always. Joshua landed beside him, folding his wings. They stood, side by side, over the remains. "I thought you were annoying," Male said. "I still am," Joshua replied. "Fair." Kaler's pieces twitched, started pulling back together. "Still not dead." Joshua frowned. "I told you. He's a root god now," Male murmured. "He doesn't end. He grows. Then we end growth." Joshua raised his hands. Two spheres formed. One white, one black, one made of corrupted time, the other made of demon fire laws. He compressed them, hard. Male added a fragment of absolute mass. The spheres whined. They shook the entire battlefield, past, present, and future. Kaler's reformed body, now taller, larger, bark plated in stars, stopped, stared. "Don't," he growled. Joshua grinned, fangs showing. Male just said, "Goodbye." They launched it. The forbidden collapse. It hit Kaler directly.
No scream. No boom.
Just silence. Everything folded inward. Light vanished. Time blinked out. The jungle planets, the vines, the laws, even the floating scales, gone. The void held its breath. Then, crack. Kaler's essence, all of it was sealed. In a tree. Small. Glowing. Trapped in memory. Male picked it up. Studied it. Joshua floated beside him, blood dripping from his mouth. "You keeping that?" Male shrugged. "Balance must be maintained." Joshua snorted. "Creepy." They turned. The battlefield was empty now.
No planets.
No sound.
No fury.
Just quiet. Just them. And the end of a god. Joshua's wings slowly folded away, the horns dimming. The red eyes faded. But something inside him stayed awake now. The demon, the angel, the Nephilim, and somewhere far off something else stirred. Because the root god may have fallen, but seeds always sprout again. Chapter 162, Jordan claiming planets. The sky of Veltraza was gold. Not sunlight, gas. A thick auric mist blanketing the upper layers of the atmosphere, making everything beneath shimmer like it was dipped in honey. But beneath that beauty, the ground cracked. Trees twisted with obsidian bark reached for a sky that never rained, and the people, those who still lived, walked in silence, eyes hollow, their gods long dead. A sudden ripple cut through the air.
No portal.
No light, just pressure. A single point in the sky darkened, and then Jordan descended. Just him, falling like a judgment written in flesh. His feet touched the scorched stone in the center of Veltraza's capital, Arsuin, and the ground splintered. A shockwave rolled out across the empty city, toppling weakened spires and setting off dormant alarms. Somewhere, a monk watching from a high temple dropped his incense and ran. Jordan looked up. 3 suns loomed overhead. He blinked once and all 3 dimmed slightly. He raised his hand. A wave of energy pulsed outward. Not aggressive, not destructive. A message, a warning. And all across Veltraza, the vassal lords of Kaler, the root god, the ones who survived the collapse, felt it. By the time they gathered in the plaza, the mist had cleared, drawn aside by an unseen wind. They came in robes, Armor. Roots still embedded in their skin. Remnants of Kaler's dominion. One stepped forward, tall, thin, his arms covered in living leaves. "Who are you?" he hissed. "This is root-aligned territory. Speak your name or be buried in the soil." "I'm not here for conversation," Jordan said. His voice was clear, calm. "Submit or burn." The Lord frowned. "Submit to what?" Jordan looked at him, just looked. And suddenly the Lord fell to one knee, coughing blood, eyes wide with something he couldn't understand. "The Celestial Monarch faction," Jordan said, stepping forward. At that moment, several others reacted, some drawing weapons, others backing away. "Kaler is dead," he continued. "This planet belonged to him. That ends now. I'm giving you one chance. You swear your world to the Celestial Monarch faction. Your leaders, your resources, your faith, or this planet becomes ash." "You think we'll kneel?" spat another, his skin bark-like, his mouth full of thorns. "To who?" "You." "Not to me," Jordan said. He looked up, then down. "To the ones above me." He lifted his hand again. A pillar of light shot up into the clouds, no, past the clouds, into space itself. A mark flared against the heavens. The crest of the Celestial Monarchs, shaped like 3 overlapping orbs. One golden, one silver, one obsidian. The sky trembled. The ground cracked again. And one of the smaller moons of Veltraza cracked in half, clean, silent, its pieces drifting apart like broken eggshells. The message was clear. Half of the lords knelt immediately. The other half didn't. Jordan turned. "No." They didn't answer. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, his pupils were white. Not glowing. Not shining. Just empty. A wind howled. Then he was gone. He moved, not running, not flying, just moving, blurring across the battlefield in a way that no eye could follow. The first to resist was split in half. Not cut. Split. One moment whole, the next, a spray of ash and silence. The others screamed. Some tried to escape. They didn't. Jordan raised a hand, and their roots screamed. The remnants of Kaler inside them convulsed, twisted, turned on their hosts. Limbs cracked, eyes turned black, mouths filled with soil. And then silence.
No scream.
No death rattle. Just the sound of reality stitching itself shut around their corpses. The ones who knelt remained, shaking. Jordan looked at them. "You live. Spread the banner. Prepare your offerings. My monarchs will contact you." And without waiting for a response, he vanished again. Planet Drazik, a desert world. 3 towers marked the horizon, each 1,000s of meters high, made from the bones of ancient beasts, said to be personally blessed by Magnus, the god of might. Jordan landed in the middle of the 3rd tower. A meeting was already in session. He didn't knock. The ceiling caved in when he dropped through, his bare feet crunching against marble bone. Dozens of warlords stood around a glowing table, all of them armed, one of them already shouting, "You dare interrupt a Magnus tier council?" Jordan flicked his wrist. The speaker evaporated, turned to salt. Nothing touched him, he just ceased. The room exploded into action. Too slow. Jordan twisted. His body bent in ways that shouldn't be natural. Every step was a beat, and with each beat, someone died. One punch sent a general flying through 5 walls. Another strike crushed a sword without touching it. And then, silence. The remaining generals stood back. "Who sent you?" a warlady asked, blood dripping from her lip. "Same answer," Jordan said. "Submit or burn." "We are of Magnus," she snapped. "You think we'll just hand over our planet?" "I don't care what you think," Jordan said. "I care what you choose." He pointed. That. Outside, lightning split the clouds. A storm began, but it wasn't water. It was fire, golden flame that poured from the sky like rain, searing the bones of the world. Cities burned before they knew they were under attack. The bones of the tower began to glow, then melt. "Make your decision," Jordan said. This time, no one hesitated. They swore. Planet, Levira. Forest, sky. Waterfalls taller than mountains. A paradise world under the protection of Selene, goddess of moonlight. Jordan didn't land. He walked across the air. Each step left a ripple in the clouds. 1,000 druids floated up to meet him, silver robes, glowing eyes, sacred staffs glowing with lunar grace. "You are not welcome here," the high druid said. "Selene's mark still lives on this land." Jordan nodded, then looked to the moon above, snapped his fingers, and a chunk of it fell, just broke off and tumbled into the sea like a comet, sending waves halfway around the planet. The druids panicked. "You can't." "I can." He drifted closer. "You have 1 hour." They argued. Some cried. Some prayed. But in the end, they too submitted. One by one, world by world, Jordan moved, like a storm that wouldn't end. He needed no ship, no army, no speech, just the weight of the ones behind him. The monarchs, Selene,
Magnus.
Kaeler's death had changed everything. The banner of the celestial monarch faction was no longer a whisper, it was a flame. And Jordan? He was the match. Planets bowed. Some screamed. But all of them remembered one thing. He didn't glow. He burned. Chapter 163. The Celestial Monarch Faction. Meanwhile, Kaeldar wasn't subtle. He didn't send warnings. Didn't ask for allegiance. Didn't even give a name. He arrived and things just stopped living. The first planet was a jungle world under Selene's influence. Soft winds, eternal moonlight, gentle beasts that spoke in dreams. A whole civilization of stargazers and singers, cloaked in silver robes, living in harmony. Then the sky turned red. Started like a mistake. Something wrong with the atmosphere. Clouds thickened, stars vanished. The moon cracked without warning. And then, the trees began to scream. Yes, scream. Roots tore themselves from the ground. Leaves shriveled to ash midair. And the air filled with this buzzing, like every molecule wanted to escape. A song in reverse. The planet's heartbeat skipping. Then he stepped through. Not from a portal. Not from space. He just walked out from the largest tree. Like the planet grew him. Kaeldar. Half shadow, half hunger. Skin like molten obsidian, eyes like frozen lightning.
No armor. No clothes.
Just a cloak made of screaming faces, writhing and twisting with every step. The druids saw him. Tried to summon Moonfire. Tried to call on Selene. Didn't work. Selene didn't answer. Couldn't. Kaeldar raised his hand. The moon turned black. Not metaphorically. Turned. And then, devoured. The whole moon folded inward, like it got sucked through a hole no one could see. One moment it was up there, full and glowing, the next it was just gone. Like it was never there. Then he looked down. The jungle burst into blue fire. Living fire. It screamed too. The druids fell, not burned, drained. Their bodies turned to paper. Their magic sucked into Kaeldar like air into a vacuum. Every soul, every animal, every blade of grass, gone. He didn't even touch them. Within 10 minutes, the planet was dead. Not in ruins. Not charred. Dead. A silent rock floating through space with no atmosphere. Not even gravity. Like the laws of physics were too scared to stay. Next was a forge world.
Under Magnus.
Metal everywhere. Black suns glowing over cities of hammers and steel titans. 1,000 warforges burning non-stop. Whole continents of armor, weapons, machines, marching legions. Kaeldar arrived by swallowing their sun. Literally. The sun blinked and vanished. The sky turned dark. Cold swept across the planet like a plague. People screamed. The metal groaned. And then eyes. Thousands of them opening across the sky. Blinking sideways. Looking down. "Magnus will stop you," one of the war priests shouted from a mountain cannon. "You are not welcome." Kaeldar looked at him. The mountain folded in half.
No noise.
Just collapse. Like the entire structure forgot how to exist. Then the machines stopped. Not shut down, just froze. Mid-walk, mid-punch, mid-roar. Every single Titan mech warship dead. No signal, no power. The warlords inside choked. Blood out of their noses. Eyes rolled back. Because their souls were wired into the machines. Kaeldar devoured both. Then he walked forward, dragging a black chain behind him. Except there was nothing on the end. Just weight. You could feel it. Like reality hated it. The ground he walked on turned to glass. Then to nothing. In 30 minutes? Planet gone. Gone. No battle.
No survivors.
Just dust. Not even enough for ruins. And then the worst one. Kaelar's own cradle world. A sacred place. Hidden. Protected. Bathed in ancient life. They thought it was safe. It wasn't. Kaeldar sank into it. Like a shadow beneath the roots. The planet didn't see him land. He came from below. And when he rose, he brought hell with him. The soil boiled. Animals birthed themselves inside out. Every prayer turned to laughter. Mocking. Loud. Echoing inside people's heads until their skulls cracked. The trees bled. The sky bled. Even the stars above started to flicker, like Kaeldar's presence was leaking into space. Then came the real horror. He planted something. A seed. Black and pulsing. Made from bone and nightmare. It burrowed deep into the heart of the planet. And everything just stopped. Motion. Sound. Light. Time. Frozen. The entire planet became a black statue in space. Still. Perfectly shaped. No more aging. No more movement. Just frozen death. Like he wanted to keep it. Like a trophy. Kaeldar wasn't spreading a banner. He was eating the board. Not conquest. Consumption. Where Jordan burned, Kaeldar emptied.
No warnings. No speeches.
Just the quiet, cosmic truth that some things weren't meant to negotiate. Adam has sent him, and he would do just that. And now he was heading toward the heart worlds. Not fringe. Not minor. Core systems. Magnus knew. Selene knew. And deep in a place where no gods whispered anymore, something else knew too. The question wasn't who could stop Kaeldar. It was, would anything even try? The stories spread like smoke in a burning house. Whispers first. Quiet. Scared.
Impossible.
Then screams. Kaelar's dead. Selene fell silent. Magnus, he hasn't spoken in weeks. Not even to his champions. First, nobody believed it. The three monarchs were more than gods. They were systems. Pantheons. Foundations of empires that had lasted longer than most stars. But now their planets were quiet.
No responses. No visions. No blessings.
Just silence. And in that silence, fear started growing. Whole galaxies held their breath. Sects started purging heretics, blaming the quiet on internal rot. Armies were deployed to sacred sites. Oracles bled out trying to summon visions from deities that no longer answered. And through it all, one name started to rise. The Celestial Monarch faction. Where the old monarchs had temples and avatars, the Celestial Monarchs had symbols burned into the stars. Planets where the sky shimmered with their crest, 3 overlapping orbs. Gold, silver, obsidian. People saw the sign and knelt without asking. Because they knew what came next if they didn't. Jordan. And worse, Kaeldar. Their names traveled faster than ships. Faster than light. Carved into the walls of spaceports. Screamed in prison pits. Painted across shattered moons. He burned the sky. He silenced a sun. He turned a forest into stone. He didn't talk. He didn't ask. He just came. On one planet, children played a game called Run from Jordan. They ran toward the setting sun, trying not to look back. On another, cults rose, worshipping Kaeldar as the Endwalker. Some even begged to be devoured first. Empires once loyal to Magnus folded in days. Not from war. From panic. From the realization that they were living on borrowed time. Selene's followers tried to summon her by bathing in moonlight for 7 nights. On the 8th, their oceans boiled. The message was clear. The old gods were gone. Dead? Maybe. Fled? Maybe. But the universe didn't care. The celestial monarchs were all that mattered now. And behind their rise, Adam. Never seen. Never named. Not publicly. But everyone in the know understood. This wasn't a rebellion. This wasn't a revolution. This was a rewriting. One by one, the stars changed. One by one, the temples fell. One by one, the monarchs who ruled for millennia were reduced to stories, warnings whispered at the edge of new borders. And when someone asked what to do, when some brave soul stood up and said, "We need to fight," the answer came quick. Fight who? The one who walks through fire? The one who eats moons? The one who doesn't glow? He burns. The universe kept spinning. But now it spun under a new light. Not from stars. Not from gods. But from a faction rising faster than belief could catch up. And all across the stars, one phrase echoed. Not in fear. Not in praise. Just understanding. The celestial monarchs are here. This is their era now. And nothing will ever be the same. Chapter 164. Taiyu Realm coming to seek protection. The universe was the three absolute monarchs had fallen. People didn't just whisper the name Celestial Monarch Faction anymore. They remembered it, like a brand burned into the mind, like something too big to ignore. Kaler, Joshua, Mael, each of them giants in their own right, and yet, in the end, reduced to echoes by the faction that stood above everything. Aurora stood at the heart of Virelia, watching the skies. Her eyes weren't cold, they didn't need to be. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even proud. She was patient. Plans moved. Orders were given. Signals were sent out across the star systems. Calm, direct, absolute. The Celestial Monarch faction had claimed the throne of power in the cosmos. And now, the universe was responding. Planets moved. Literally. Ships made from black sun metal and vessels powered by cosmic whales sailed through the void, each carrying envoys and leaders. They weren't coming for war. They weren't even coming for peace. They were coming to kneel. Planet Arzhan, known for its eternal crystal plains, was the first. Its envoy stepped onto Virelia's surface, bowed so low his forehead hit the ground, and offered the crown of Arzhan as tribute. They didn't speak in riddles or declarations. Just one sentence. We offer ourselves to the celestial monarchs. May we serve and survive. Next was Taurusal, a molten world where the sky burned blue and the ground never cooled. Its volcanic kings knelt with lava still dripping from their bodies. Then came Xerxes 9, Ulthar, Drakenvale, Feygrove, each planet different in size, culture, power, but all with the same decision. Submit or disappear. The Celestial Monarch faction didn't need to raise a hand. Their victory had already spoken for them. It was days later when the final ship arrived. Nothing grand. No blaring horns or flashing banners. Just a single vessel, sleek and gray, drifting through space like it didn't belong. It landed silently. From it came a woman, old, wrapped in teal robes, with cloud-white hair tied into a simple knot. She looked like a grandmother. But every step she took cracked the ground beneath her. Virelia stirred at her presence, like it recognized her. Aurora raised an eyebrow. The old woman bowed. We come from the Taiyu realm. Aurora glanced to her side. Adams, sitting lazily on a floating stone, looked up. He didn't speak, just tilted his head, amused. The old woman continued. We seek vassalage under the Celestial Monarch faction. Aurora's eyes narrowed. Taiyu realm has never involved itself in politics. Not for thousands of years. Why now? The old woman didn't hesitate. We are seeking protection. Silence. Aurora's voice dropped. From who? The old woman looked up, and the shadows in her eyes shifted like they held a storm. One man, she said. Hieman. The name cut through the air like a blade. Adams straightened. Even Aurora blinked. Chu-man? She repeated. Adams raised a brow, one hand casually flicking a pebble off the floating stone he sat on. Chu-man? He muttered, as if trying to remember the name of an old cartoon. Then he turned his head slightly, just enough to glance at the figure hovering behind him. Oracle. The strange being in black and white robes stood with their hands behind their back, face hidden under a porcelain half-mask. Their voice was calm, almost too calm. That would be the place you went for vacation last year, Oracle said. Adams blinked. Taiyu. Oracle nodded once. You said you were only going for food. Adams tilted his head. I was only going for food. The old woman from Taiyu realm turned suddenly, her eyes widening as if struck by lightning. Her gaze locked onto Adams, really looked at him this time. Not as some lazy guy sitting on a floating rock. Not as some random member of the faction. But as him. Her mouth fell open slightly. You were the one, she whispered, voice trembling. Adams scratched his ear. Ha! You sat under the jade fig tree chewing, she said, eyes filling with both fear and clarity. Everything changed after that. You ignored the sect masters. You ignored the dragon kings. You just kept chewing. And then, one by one, they vanished. Aurora raised an eyebrow, then looked at Adams. That was you. I was on break, he said flatly. The old woman dropped to her knees. Not to bow, but because her legs gave out. Forgive me. We didn't know it was you. We thought. You thought Chu Man was a curse? Adams offered, standing up and stretching like a man waking from a nap. Nah. I just didn't like people staring while I ate. There was a silence. Then Adams looked at Aurora and shrugged. Guess I kinda broke their realm by accident. Aurora sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Of course you did. A breeze swept through the arena, dramatic and slow. Somewhere, thunder cracked across the sky. Late as always, as if the heavens were still catching up to what just happened. Oracle's mask glinted faintly. So, Chu Man is just Adams on vacation. The old woman turned pale. Aurora looked down at her. You still want to be a vassal? The woman nodded furiously. Please. Definitely. If he is part of your faction, we would rather serve than be chewed. Adams frowned. I didn't chew anybody. The woman shook her head quickly. Not us. Just everything around you. Aurora raised a hand. All right. Taiyu realm is under our protection. No more collapsing sects or disappearing mountains, unless Adams goes back for dessert. Adams grinned.
No promises.
The woman collapsed in relief, while her guards behind her wept silently like they'd just survived a storm. Far above, the stars began to shift again, adjusting, realigning, as if the universe had just updated its understanding of who to fear. Not a conqueror, not a weapon, just a man, chewing. Chapter 165. Surviving the Ultimate Opponent. Virelia, a few hours later. The sky above still buzzed with residual cosmic energy, the kind that hung around like the smell of fireworks after a festival. Somewhere in the grand halls of the Celestial Monarch Palace, Adams, the so-called Chu Man, destroyer of realms and accidental fear icon, sat slumped on a velvet couch. He looked done, slouched, arms crossed, face in that awkward, please let me vanish, look that only showed up when you were facing the deadliest of all opponents, your parents. And they were all here. His mother, Freya, stood in front of him, arms folded with that terrifying maternal stillness. Her golden eyes burned with a mix of concern and disappointment, a combo that somehow hurt worse than any divine lightning bolt. Her hair was braided in a crown above her head, but her aura? Oh, it was mom level 9000. His father, Raphael, sat beside her, calm, composed, and worse, silent. The kind of silent that made Adam sweat. Like his old man was calculating something that would land as a lecture wrapped in existential disappointment. On the opposite end of the room, his big sister Arya leaned against a column with a smug look. She was sipping from a goblet like this was premium entertainment, occasionally tossing glances that said, "You're not walking away from this one, big bro." And then there was Alfred. Adam's younger brother was already on the floor, laughing.
No, cackling.
Pft, ha 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 ha. Chew man. I can't. I can't even. Alfred rolled back, kicking his feet like a kid on sugar. You accidentally terrified an entire ancient realm just by snacking? Bro. How is that even possible? You're like cosmic indigestion. Alfred, Freya said sharply. He froze. Both Raphael and Freya turned toward him in unison. Two glares. One mission. Shut him up. Alfred straightened like someone just yanked his soul back into his body. Ahem. Right. Respect the moment. Very serious. Continue. Freya turned back to Adams, her tone cold. You destroyed Tayu's upper realm hierarchy during vacation? I didn't destroy it. Adams mumbled, arms folded tighter. I just maybe caused a few people to panic. Arya raised an eyebrow. You made Dragon Kings vanish, Adam. Vanish. That's not panic. That's full-on system reset. I didn't mean to. Adams groaned, burying his face in his hands. I was sitting under a fig tree, eating. They stared. I didn't like it. I looked back. They combusted. Not my fault. Raphael finally spoke, his voice deep and ancient. You could have left. Adams threw up a hand. I was hungry. Alfred couldn't stop the chuckle that slipped out. So what you're saying is, interstellar annihilation occurred because you wanted a quiet snack. I didn't annihilate anyone.
Arya amid doubtfully.
Technically true. The mountains did collapse on their own, and the sect towers turned to mist. Also on their own. Raphael gave her a side-eye. She nodded. Right? Helping. Freya stepped closer. Adams. You know we don't mind accidents. We've all had moments. Your father sneezed once and erased a galaxy. But this is about your choices. Adams stared blankly. I was eating and ignoring everyone trying to talk to you, Freya said, dead serious. They were interrupting lunch, he argued. Lunch doesn't justify tectonic reformatting, Raphael muttered. Okay. Adams rubbed his face. I get it. Maybe I shouldn't have stared back. Maybe I shouldn't have released minor void pulses through my teeth. But it was chewing. I wasn't threatening anyone. Arya sipped again. And yet, they offered their souls for salad dressing.
Alfred witzt.
Chew man is coming. Oh, bro. That's gonna be my ringtone. Adams pointed at him. Don't. You.
Dare.
Alfred had already pulled out his cosmic communicator. Too late. Uploaded. Also printing shirts. Alfie. Adams snapped. Raphael sighed. You boys. Freya turned, hands on hips. Adams. Just promise us one thing. He blinked. What? No more vacation realms without supervision. Adams choked. I'm not 5. Freya gave him the look. He deflated. Fine. And no chewing in front of sect leaders, Raphael added. Seriously. You bring terror into realms by existing, Adam, Arya said. Chewing just makes it worse. I chew quietly. You chew ominously, Alfred muttered, still snickering. Like something bad's gonna happen every bite. You sound like thunder wrapped in existential dread, Arya added helpfully. I chew like a normal person. Normal people don't make void whales cry, Alfred shot back. Adams stood up, arms flailing. One time I bit into a spicy dumpling and reality twitched. It happens. Freya massaged her temples. Raphael, say something. The father of the celestial monarch faction folded his arms, eyes closing.
Son.
We love you, but your vacations have higher casualty rates than wars. Adams groaned. Okay, I'll stay in the palace forever. Happy.
Arya smirked.
Don't tempt Mom to install baby monitors. She already did, Freya said calmly. We just call them divine vision runes. Adams blinked. You what? You think we weren't watching Tayu? Freya asked. We just didn't think you'd turn into a planetary extinction event over lunch. Alfred slid beside Adams and patted his back. Don't worry, big bro. I'll visit your memorial in Tayu one day. It'll say, here sat the Chew man. He came. He munched. They vanished. Adams grabbed a throw pillow and yeeted it at him. Alfred ducked, still laughing. Aurora suddenly walked in from the hallway, holding a stack of reports. She paused at the scene. The chaos, the glares, Adams holding a pillow like a weapon inside. Let me guess. Family meeting. Adams looked at her with the most tired expression in the cosmos. They're interrogating me because I had a snack. Freya raised a finger. That collapsed a region. That glared back. Adams whined. Aurora flipped a page. You do know Tayu's priests are offering sacrifices to chewing noises now, right? Adams froze. You're joking. She tossed a scroll at him. Read the liturgy. Oh, great one who masticates reality. Adams stared at the title like it personally betrayed him. I hate this timeline. Freya kissed his forehead suddenly. We love you, baby. I'm a grown man. You're our grown man, she said sweetly. Who needs to chew quietly? Adams sat back down, defeated.
Alfred leaned in.
So,
Jemand.
can I be sip boy?
Alfred, I svär.
Aurora sat beside him with a smug smirk. I could be Crunch Girl. Together, we'll form the Snack Avengers. Arya grind. I call Dib Girl. Adams stood up again.
No.
No more snack-themed titles. I retire. I renounce food. You'll get hungry again in 2 hours, Freya said knowingly. Adams slumped again. Fine. But next time I'm chewing anything, I'm going to a lifeless asteroid. Raphael nodded in approval. Freya smiled. Good boy. Adams, the most powerful being in the known universe, rubbed his temples. His brother laughed. His sister sipped. His mother was planning his next snack monitor. And somewhere very far away, the people of Tayu realm lit incense in reverence. For the Chew Man, who hath snacked, and survived his parents. Chapter 166. Adam versus Alfred. Virilia later that same day. Somewhere in the outer courtyard of the Celestial Monarch Palace, golden trees swayed gently under a twilight sky that looked like it had been painted by a sugar-high deity. Peaceful, calm, serene, until someone crashed through a bush.
Alfred.
Adams came flying in like a meteor made of rage and throw pillows, leaping over the railing with that dramatic anime sprint, the kind where his legs blurred and sparkles trailed behind because of course they did. Alfred screamed like a gremlin and bolted, still wearing a t-shirt that read,
I survivet gev man.
But my cultivation didn't. You printed that? Adams shouted mid-chase. Limited edition, Alfred yelled, dodging a pillow that nearly took his head off. You're famous now, bro. Embrace the merch. Arya watched from above on a floating balcony, legs crossed like she was the final boss of sarcasm. You two gonna destroy the garden again? Or should I just call the landscaper now? I'll rebuild it, Alfred yelled, still running. With t-shirts. You're gonna rebuild it with bruises, Adams shouted, leaping over a koi pond and narrowly avoiding the koi god that surfaced to glare at him. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Freya stood by a massive window with Raphael. They both silently sipped from celestial teacups that shimmered like galaxies in glass. Raphael watched his sons chasing each other, causing minor tremors in the sky and scaring off entire bird populations. Should we stop them? He asked without much urgency. Freya shook her head. Let them burn it out. Builds character. Raphael said, tilting his cup. You added cinnamon this time? Stardust cinnamon, she replied proudly. Goes well with disaster. Just then, Aurora walked in holding another stack of scrolls. Her expression was tired, like someone who had just cataloged 1,000 cults dedicated to snack-based deities. I've now received 17 official requests from Tayu to designate Adams as a culinary god, she said, not even blinking. Freya blinked. God of what now? Specifically, God of mundane consumption and universal collapse. Raphael chuckled softly. Catchy. They're building a statue, Aurora added, dropping the scrolls on the table. Out of breadcrumbs. Freya raised an eyebrow. He'll love that. Back in the garden, the chaos had evolved. Now there was a full-on shounen battle pose-off. Adams stood at one end of the courtyard, shirt slightly torn, hair ruffled, aura flaring in chaotic spirals of violet and black. "You insult my Chu," he growled. "You mock the crunch." Alfred, now floating midair with ridiculous anime wind blowing his scarf. "Where did the scarf come from?" Pointed dramatically. "Your snack crimes will not go unpunished, brother. Then come at me, sip boy. Rhea Ag." Boom! Their clash shook the sky. Lightning forked in from nowhere because anime rules said it had to. The koi god dove back into the pond, muttering, "I hate this family." Arya, now seated on a floating recliner with a parasol and sunglasses, sipped her celestial smoothie and sighed. "They're doing bit-based combat now. We need therapy coupons." A moment later, Alice floated down beside her with a snack bowl of starfruit chips. "Is this where the show is?" "Front row seats," Arya said. "Adams is chewing his way through Alfred's honor again." Alice crunched a chip. "Classic." Suddenly, boom, Adams vanished and reappeared behind Alfred in a teleporting backstab classic anime pose. "You let your guard down. I was monologuing."
Alfred kriet.
"Too late," Adams shouted, reaching into his robe and pulling out a burrito. "Wait, what?" Alfred blinked. "You brought a snack into battle?" Adams took a dramatic bite. Everything paused. The sky dimmed. Wind stilled. A black hole hiccuped in the far corner of the universe.
"No," Alfred whispered.
"Not the crunch-to-mate technique." Adams opened his mouth. Crunch! The sound echoed like the heartbeat of fate itself. "No!" Alfred dropped like a stone, dramatically spinning like someone had uppercut his soul. "Yergurk!" He landed on the grass with little swirls in his eyes. Arya stood and held up a sign that read, 10 out of 10. Alice held up 8.5 because the burrito had too much rice. Aurora walked in, having seen none of the build-up, and just stared. Did he just defeat his brother with a burrito? Freya's voice echoed from somewhere inside. At least he didn't destroy a realm this time. Adams stood victorious over Alfred, who groaned like a defeated Pokemon. "I told you," Adams said, finishing the last bite. "Chewing is not to be underestimated." Just then, a courier spirit zipped into the courtyard. "Urgent letter from Taiyu Realm," it chirped. "They are requesting the Chew Man's official blessing on their new snack-based battle order." Adams blinked. "What?" Aurora opened the scroll and read aloud. "To the glorious cruncher of realities, we humbly request your presence at the Grand Snack Dojo inauguration, where disciples vow to master the path of edible destruction." Adams fell to his knees. "I hate this timeline so much." Aurora patted his head. "It's okay. They're naming a pastry after you, too." What kind of pastry?" he asked weakly. "They call it the Forbidden Chew. One bite and your taste buds will ascend dimensions." Alfred gave a thumbs up from the grass. "Sounds delicious." Adams threw a stick at him. Later that night, the whole family gathered around a divine campfire in the upper courtyard. Arya roasted marshmallows using a controlled beam of cosmic heat. Janice floated upside down, playing cards with Alfred. Aurora scribbled new cult registries in a board daze. Freya handed Raphael a cup of moon wine. "Think they'll ever grow out of this?" Raphael took a sip, watching Adams argue with the koi god over who had more dramatic flair. "Nope," he said, "but it's never boring." And somewhere far away, Taiyu priests gathered in a candlelit temple. They lit incense, chanted softly, and stared at the giant mural of a man eating a fig under a tree. On a golden plaque, the words glowed brightly. He munched. They vanished. Balance was reconsidered. Long live the Chew Man. Chapter 167. The Followers of the Final Nuisance. It began with a knock, or more like a dramatic slam of doors, and Alfred bursting into Adam's chamber with scrolls, confetti, and a paper crown that said Taiyu's Snack King. Adams didn't even look up. "If it's about that cult again." "It's not a cult," Alfred shouted, already pulling Adams up by the arm. It's an opportunity. A celebration. They're building a whole dojo, bro. We've been invited as special guests. You can't say no to your legacy. My legacy is not edible destruction. You invented edible destruction. Shut up.
Moments later.
Adam stood outside the palace courtyard with a heavy sigh while Alfred danced in circles, clearly thrilled. Then the ground trembled. The skies rumbled. The trees leaned away like they knew what was coming. And then, boom! Kaeldar landed. Elegant, grand, massive. Adams climbed up without a word, clearly regretting everything about today. Alfred hopped on behind him, snacks already in hand. All right, boy, to the Taiyu realm. We've got an empire to accidentally encourage. Kaeldar roared once and took off. The moment they lifted into the air, Virelia responded as expected. People gasped. Birds scattered. Cultivators pointed. Some random elder shouted, "The Chu Man rides again!" Adams palmed his face. Then came the flying spirit cameras, cultivators riding clouds trying to catch a glimpse, and a few overexcited fangirls launching glitter bombs in the air. Back in the palace, Arya. You let them take Kaeldar? Freya. Alfred bribed me with voidberry pie. Raphael. Reasonable. Taiyu realm. Several hours of absurd flight later. As they descended, crowds had already gathered. Flags waved. Banners flew. Confetti rained. A massive gate stood ahead with golden letters that read, "Welcome, Chu Man Va Friend." Alfred teared up. Adams audibly groaned. They landed. Kaeldar vanished into a sparkle of cosmic mist because dramatic exits are standard protocol. People screamed. Someone fainted. A line of monks bowed deeply. "Your divine crunchness," the lead monk began. Adams pointed at Alfred. "He's the crunchness. I'm just here to babysit." Alfred proudly waved like a pageant queen. Then came the tour. The Grand Snack Dojo was everything Adams feared. Training halls shaped like teapots. Giant statues of him chewing things, furniture, galaxies, a duck. A sparring ring shaped like a giant bao bun. Disciples in crunchy robes practicing the way of the bite. Adams held a hand to his temple. "This is so stupid it's actually giving me a headache. Wait till you see the gift shop."
Alfred chirped.
Then it happened. They were led to a side plaza. At first, Adams noticed nothing strange. But then he saw it. A massive crowd of people wearing jet-black robes, all kneeling before a floating obelisk. On it was written in shimmering purple, "The final nuisance shall return." Adams stopped, dead still. "What is that?" Alfred peered over. "Oh, that's new. What do they call themselves again?" A nearby disciple perked up. "Oh, that's the followers of the final nuisance. They worship you, sir." Adams turned slowly. "I beg your pardon?" The disciple nodded. "They believe you're the harbinger of all final boss battles and minor inconveniences. They consider your chew to be the sacred act of annoyance that undoes creation. Praise be." Another follower crawled closer and whispered, "He breathes loud enough to crack realms. We must annoy in his honor." Adams looked at Alfred. "Did you start this?"
Alfred shrugged.
"I might have mentioned how annoyed you get when people mess with your snacks. You created a cult of my mood swings? It's not a cult if they give you a theme song." Suddenly, a choir began singing. "He is the nuisance, final and true." He left the room, and it collapsed too. Adams turned around and began walking back to Kaeldar's summon point. "I'm going home." Alfred grabbed his sleeve. "Wait, you haven't even tried the commemorative ice cream named after your temper." A nearby vendor held up a bowl labeled Chuman's Fury, now with extra crunch. Adams turned to him with a death glare. The bowl combusted. The vendor clapped. "Divine flames," just like the legends said. Later that evening, a grand ceremony was held. Monks lit torches made of spicy jerky.
Bells rang.
Streamers flew. Adams stood on a platform, arms crossed, frowning hard enough to bend light. Alfred, wearing a ridiculous cape made of snack wrappers, addressed the crowd. Dear Taiyu citizens, behold, the Chu man, bringer of snack balance and mild inconvenience. The crowd cheered like it was a shounen finale. Adams stepped forward, eyes twitching. I have no idea why any of you think this is okay. The crowd gasped in awe. He speaks in riddles, someone cried. Adams continued. This is all insane. I do not bless snacks. I do not endorse the noodle nunchuck kata. I just want peaceful food consumption. Another gasp. A tearful monk shouted. Even his denials are divine contradiction. Someone passed out. Someone else drew a mural of Adams slapping a sandwich into enlightenment. Alfred nudged him. Just go with it. Eat one snack. Smile. Then we go. Adams sighed. Took a cookie. Bit it. Crunch. Time paused. The sky lit up. A rainbow turned into a dragon and did a backflip. Everyone dropped to their knees. Adams swallowed. You people need help. On the way back to Varelia, Adams slumped forward on Kael'thar, mentally exhausted. Next time, he muttered. Don't wake me up unless it's an actual apocalypse. Alfred, chewing on a celebratory donut, grinned. Got it. Beat. Oh, also, they're naming the next holiday after you. Adams screamed into the wind. Somewhere in Taiyu, a young disciple bowed before a new mural. It showed Adams staring angrily at a half-eaten sandwich. Below it were the sacred words. He chewed. He complained. Reality adjusted. Long live the final nuisance. Long live the Chu man. Elsewhere. Heh. Those dusty old geezers? Guess they're dead now. Whatever. Not my problem. I'm just here to finish what I came for. Grab the young master and bounce off this backwater planet. Chapter 168. Joshua's True Heritage 1. The sky outside was streaked with soft hues of orange and pink, casting warm light across the shimmering spires of Varelia. Inside the tower, more specifically, inside Joshua's overly complicated, dramatically glowing study room, two voices echoed between bookshelves and floating lanterns. Alice sat cross-legged on a cushion by the glass wall, munching on starlight grapes, while Joshua paced lazily in front of an enchanted chalkboard that had started sketching itself just for fun. And then he actually threw the burrito? Joshua asked, laughing like a kid hearing the dumbest story in the universe. Alice choked slightly, wiping a tear from her eye. Yes, and it landed in Alfred's mouth mid-sentence. I swear. The whole courtyard paused like a dramatic anime close-up. Joshua clutched his stomach, leaning against a floating book. That man is chaos in human form. No, cosmic burrito form. He keeps pretending he's above all this, Alice snorted. But last week he declared war on a vending machine. It wouldn't take his divine coins. Joshua mimicked Adam's voice with a frown and grand hand gestures. Unacceptable. I am the law. They both collapsed in laughter again, the room briefly flickering with magical sparks from the amusement. The books on the shelves giggled too. Some of them were alive or at least nosy. Then, all at once, it stopped. The laughter, the air, even the light. It was like the tower itself took a breath and held it. Alice blinked and sat up slowly. Did something just? The shadows shifted. It wasn't a dramatic crack of thunder or explosion or even a ripple. No grand entrance.
No epic chant.
One moment the room was empty. The next, someone was standing in the middle of it, right between Alice and Joshua. A figure, cloaked in deep gray, face shadowed by a hood that shimmered oddly, like reality wasn't quite sure how to paint them. Alice's breath caught. Joshua's body tensed, fingers already twitching near the spell rings hidden on his wrist. Neither of them moved. The figure said nothing, did nothing, just stood there, like they'd always been part of the tower. A soft ding echoed in the air, a subtle chime only monarchs of Varelia could hear. Within moments, divine signatures spiked across the entire continent. Every monarch felt it.
Freya esticup chatered midpour.
Raphael vanished from his balcony before the glass he held hit the floor. Arya stood up so fast her parasol exploded into stardust. Aurora's scrolls caught fire. She didn't even blink. Mael dropped his card game upside down and muttered, "Oh crap." Back in the tower, Alice slowly rose to her feet, her usual carefree air replaced by sharp tension. "Who the hell are you?" she asked. Still, the figure said nothing. But something else answered. The tower groaned. Not from damage. More like it was reacting to the presence. The air still shimmered with leftover pressure from the mysterious figure's sudden arrival. Alice and Joshua stood on edge, spells half-formed and hearts racing, when the cloaked man finally moved. He reached up, fingers slow and precise, and pulled back his hood. A deep hush fell across the room. Silver hair swept back like waves frozen in time. Eyes like twin galaxies burning, calm, ancient. His presence was too complete, too still, like even space itself listened when he breathed. Alice took a sharp step back. Joshua's pupils shrank. "No way," he whispered. From above, the faint whoosh of wings followed by a burst of glowing petals signaled Aurora's entrance. She floated down beside them, graceful as always, arms crossed and lips curled into a small smirk. "So much drama," she said casually. "You always did like entrances, Lord of Dominion." The man smiled faintly. "Please," he said. "Let's skip the titles. I'm not your dean today." Joshua blinked. "Wait, dean? What? You're?" The man ignored him for a moment and stepped forward, placing a hand on Joshua's shoulder. "I'm here for one reason. To do what I was sent here to do years ago." His gaze softened. "To retrieve the young master and bring him home." Joshua froze. "Young who?" The man chuckled lightly, a sound filled with nostalgia and sadness. "You really don't remember? Not even a little?" Joshua shook his head, eyes darting between Alice, Aurora, and the man now standing in front of him like a ghost from some life he never lived. "You've got the wrong guy," he said, voice wavering slightly. "I'm not some young master. I grew up in some backwater town with a family of 3 with a father who sold fake relics." The Lord of Dominion stepped back, eyes narrowing, but not in frustration. More like he was measuring something, checking pieces of a puzzle no one else could see. "Your name," he said, "is not Joshua." Silence. Even the floating book stopped. Alice glanced sideways at Aurora, who had gone uncharacteristically still. Joshua frowned. "What?" The Lord of Dominion raised his hand, light swirling around his fingertips like strands of time itself. They formed a glowing script in the air, old symbols no one in the room had seen before, except Aurora, whose eyes widened in recognition. "Your real name," the man said, "is Zariel Caelestis Azarian." The air shivered. Joshua stared. What?" "That," the Lord said, voice low and steady, "was the name you were given at birth. The blood you carry isn't from this universe. And your existence here, it was never meant to last this long." Alice whispered, "He's serious." Joshua laughed nervously, stepping back.
No.
"No, you're insane. This is insane. I'm not some prince from another dimension." "You're not," the man interrupted. "You're more than that." Joshua looked like he was about to pass out. The Lord of Dominion sighed, reaching up to rub the bridge of his nose like a tired teacher trying to explain something to a student too hungover to get it. "To explain who you are, Jossarin," he said slowly, "I'll have to start from the beginning." Chapter 169. Joshua's True Heritage 2. The Lord of Dominion stepped back toward the glowing glyphs hovering in the air, symbols drifting like embers caught in slow motion. "Long before this world, before even your stars were born," he began, voice quiet but resonating like a forgotten hymn, "there existed a plane beyond comprehension, a realm where creation itself was still raw, unshaped, untamed." The glyphs began to spin. A projection flared in the air above them, a glowing image of a vast sky lit with swirling galaxies, fractured continents floating across void currents like islands adrift in the sea of eternity. Joshua, no Zariel, stared, his breath caught halfway between denial and wonder. This place, the Lord continued, was known as Celestia Magna, the origin realm, the cradle of everything. As he spoke, the image shifted. Dozens of colossal figures walked the realms, some with wings that eclipsed cities, others with horns curling like mountains. Some looked human, others were beasts of myth and light. They clashed, they talked, they ruled. Gods and devils, the Lord said, the first two forces to rise. Alice murmured, "They look terrifying." They were, and still are. Aurora added quietly, eyes fixed on the image. The true-born gods, children of creation itself. And the devils, their mirror born from destruction. The image split into two halves, blinding radiance on one side, obsidian flames on the other. But there were more, the Lord said, waving his hand. New beings appeared, towering dragons wreathed in lightning, phoenixes bursting into rebirth, radiant beings cloaked in stardust with halos of law and order. The Devis, Asuras, Celestials, dragons, phoenixes, the second generation, not as ancient as the firstborn but powerful in their own right. And the humans? Joshua asked slowly. They came later, fragile, curious, endlessly adaptive, like embers trying to burn as bright as stars. Alice looked over.
Sounds familiar.
The Lord chuckled. Well, some humans, at least. The image faded. The room dimmed again, but the pressure in the air hadn't lifted. I'm telling you all this because it's where you come from, the Lord said, facing Joshua. You were born in the higher realm, not to a king, not to a general, but to balance. Joshua blinked. What does that mean? The Lord's expression softened. Your parents were a true god and a true devil. Silence. You could have heard a feather hit the floor. Alice gawked. What, like, together? Yes, the Lord replied simply. It's forbidden, unthinkable. It should never have been possible. Aurora murmured. But they did it anyway. He nodded. The god of eternity and the devil of end. Two beings so far apart in power and belief, yet drawn to each other across millennia. No war.
No chaos.
Just love. Joshua stumbled back to a chair and dropped into it. Hard. I need water. You need more than that, Alice said, staring at him like she was seeing a different person. You were hidden, the Lord went on. Your existence was sealed, protected, because the moment either side knew you existed, they would stop at nothing to claim or destroy you. They'd see you as a threat, Aurora added, or a weapon. Your parents entrusted me, the Lord of Dominion said, with your safety. I took you and brought you to the mortal realms, where your power would lie dormant, where no god nor devil would sense you. Joshua looked up slowly. My family? We're a cover, he admitted gently. A projection to keep you grounded. You were placed there as a newborn. The relic seller you called father was part of the shield spell. He never knew. He paused. And now, that seal is breaking. The Lord nodded. The blood of the two oldest forces is waking up. You won't be able to suppress it much longer. Alice leaned forward. Okay, so what happens now? What does this mean for him? The tower creaked slightly, its wards trying to hold back the ripple of energy surrounding Joshua like a storm beneath the floorboards. It means, the Lord said, the higher realm will come for him, and some of them won't ask nicely. Joshua looked up, a strange calm settling over him. Why now? Because, Oracle answered for the Lord as she appeared in the tower. There's been a shift. A throne was left empty. One of the pillar thrones, seats of absolute authority in Celestia Magna. And the moment that happened, your existence registered, the Lord finished. He turned to the window. Outside, the sky had changed. Not dramatically, just subtly off, like the constellations had blinked or the light had shifted hue. A sign only gods and seers would notice. They know now, the Lord said, and soon envoys will come. Some will offer friendship, Some will come with blades. Joshua slowly stood. Then tell me everything. From the beginning. Who I am. What I'm supposed to do. The Lord gave a half-smile. I thought you'd never ask. The room dimmed, the air thickening like a veil drawn over reality. As the Lord of Dominion raised his hand, time around them buckled. Not breaking, but bending, a folding. The glass walls of the tower shimmered, colors bleeding out like watercolor on wet paper. Everyone blinked, and when they opened their eyes, they were no longer in the study. They stood on floating platforms suspended above a vast cosmic sea. Stars drifting below their feet like lazy fireflies. Mountains hovered upside down. Rivers flowed through the air in glowing loops, and colossal creatures passed through the sky like they were swimming in space itself. Joshua, or rather Zariel, stumbled back. What is this place? The Lord of Dominion turned to him with a distant look. Welcome back to the realm of origin. Long before Earth, long before the universe, before Virelia, before the known systems of stars, there was Etherian, the first realm, the crown of existence. Created by the first will, Etherian was where the primordial races awakened. Here, true gods were born, not made, but shaped from the essence of creation itself. Among them was Azarian, the boundless flame, Nahlis, the infinite bloom, and Velos, the star-splitter. On the other side of the divide, far, far below, deep within the abyssal fold, the primordial devils stirred. Not born, but forged by pressure, darkness, chaos. Entities like Kair, the Endling Maw, Lilavara, the Sorrow Queen, and Obekthar, the Whispering Spire, clawed their way into the realms, hungry for balance or destruction. In the beginning, it was not war. It was curiosity. But power tastes like honey to prideful tongues. The first clash, known simply as the Sundering, shattered 1/3 of Etherian. Moons bled, stars screamed, and in the aftermath, the lesser races awakened. Elves born of light fragments, dragons, from molten veins of collapsing stars, phoenixes, flames given thought, Devas and Ashuras, twins born of divine and demonic echoes, celestials, caretakers of time and order, humans, seated across minor realms, fragile but unervingly persistent, warlocks, fragments of forgotten gods sealed in mortal skin, and vampires and werewolves, cursed children of a failed god's experiment. Chapter 170, Glimpses of the Past. In the city of Carrion Sol, one of the divine capitals of Etherian, a child was born, not through divine decree nor mortal bond, but summoned by the collective wills. His name, Zariel Caelestis Azarian. He was different, born of god flesh, devil fire, and celestial structure, an impossible bloodline. He wasn't supposed to exist, yet he did. His parents were kept secret. Some said he was a weapon. Others whispered he was a key, a variable introduced by the cosmos to prevent stagnation. But while others fought, Zariel grew. Quiet, observant, powerful. His aura bent space before he even learned to walk. He could hear the stars humming lullabies and the screams of imprisoned demons echoing from across the plains. He didn't like it, so he left. The incident. One day, during the 8th Convergence War, when the gods and devils nearly tore the Devas continent of Valorak in two, Zariel interfered. Without permission, without warning, he silenced both armies. With a single sentence. Enough. Not shouted, just spoken. And it worked. For 3 minutes, all things stopped breathing. The lords and kings of both sides panicked. This wasn't power, it was a command. Reality had listened to him. So they hunted him. Gods called him a threat. Devils saw a tool they couldn't control. Devas called him the gray variable. The Celestials? They just watched. Zariel vanished after that. No one knew where he went. Only the Lord of Dominion knew. He had sealed Zariel's powers, altered his form, and cast him into a minor realm. A planet called Earth Variant 73X. He would live as Joshua. A normal life. Family. Friends. Smiles. School. The weight of his existence. Forgotten. Suppressed. But the seal was weakening. Back in the present. They snapped back into the tower. Reality clicked into place like a door closing behind them. Zariel stood there, heart racing. The memories didn't return in a flood, just in sparks, flickers of feelings. Floating cities, hands reaching for him. A girl with silver tattoos crying in the rain. Fire, screaming stars, silence. Joshua Zariel clutched his head. Alice reached for him. Hey, are you okay? He looked at her. No. Through her. I remember her, he whispered. Who? He didn't answer. He looked at the Lord of Dominion. You said you sealed me. The man nodded. Then why now? Why bring me back? The Lord of Dominion's expression darkened. Because the one who betrayed your birthright has returned. And he's not coming alone. Outside the tower, thunder rumbled. Despite the clear sky, the moment the thunder rumbled outside, everything inside him felt off. It wasn't loud thunder, just enough to crawl down his spine, like a whisper wrapped in a storm. He stood still in the middle of that tower, heart pounding like a drum with a broken rhythm. Not because he was scared, but because something was shifting. Something big, heavy, ancient. His name, Zariel, kept echoing in his head like it wasn't just a name, but a sentence. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he was there again. Not in the tower, not on earth. Somewhere higher, deeper. The city floated.
Carillon Sol.
White towers that stretched past clouds. Roads paved with constellations. People, not people. Entities walked with halos of flame. Skin made of crystal, voices like harps, footsteps that left ripples in the air. He saw a child. Small, barefoot, wrapped in glowing cloth. Silver eyes. No parents in sight. Just sitting at the center of a glowing chamber, surrounded by symbols that spun around him like tiny stars. That child was him. Joshua's eyes opened again, breathing shallow, sweat dripping down his back. He didn't want to believe it, but he knew it already. Knew it the moment the Lord of Dominion called him by that name. Knew it the moment reality bent in that weird place they were in a few seconds ago. That place wasn't magic. It wasn't a trick. That was a piece of somewhere real.
Somewhere familiar.
And the things in his head? Not dreams. Not delusions. Memories. He rubbed his temples, trying to hold himself together. Alice was still looking at him like she wanted to help, but he couldn't even meet her eyes. Not yet. How was he supposed to explain any of this? I'm a mistake, he mumbled under his breath. Came out before he realized. Godflesh, devil fire, celestial design. He was literally built like a paradox. The kind of thing that shouldn't happen in any world. Not divine. Not demonic. Not mortal. He was summoned by the collective wills. He didn't even know what that really meant. Some kind of cosmic council? Or maybe just something bigger than gods and devils. He didn't know. Maybe nobody did. But the fact that he wasn't born, that messed with him. All his life he thought he was just Joshua. Just some guy. Bit of a weirdo, yeah. Quiet. Always feeling like he didn't belong anywhere. But he thought that was just normal teenage stuff. Thought maybe he was just awkward. A loner. Now he knew why. Because deep down, something inside him knew he didn't belong. Not on Earth. Not even in the universe. He was made to be different. But he wasn't proud of that. It made his chest feel tight. Like someone had stitched something into his soul without asking first. His fingers trembled slightly. Not from fear. From pressure. From the weight of the things starting to crack open inside him. He could feel it now. A flicker under his skin. Like a second heartbeat. One that pulsed in time with the universe. Everything around him looked a bit too sharp. Too detailed. Like the pixels just went HD. He could feel time moving. Not in a poetic way. Literally. The seconds had a rhythm and it was skipping every now and then. Like something was interfering. He was interfering. Zariel. He didn't even like the name. It sounded too big for his mouth. Too ancient. It didn't fit him. Not yet. And yet, the moment he thought of it, the memory came again. That battlefield.
Val Arak.
The sky torn in half. One side glowing gold. the other black as a dying sun. Tens of thousands of warriors, divine, demonic, armed with weapons made from dying stars, blood from extinct dragons, and words that cracked mountains. They were about to kill each other, to wipe out an entire continent. And there he was, just walking in the middle of it, like some random bystander who accidentally teleported to hell.
No armor. No weapon.
No squad, just him. And he said one word. Enough. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But everything just stopped. Breathing, movement, time, light, everything. Like even the laws of the universe had to listen to him. Joshua rubbed his face, trying to shake the image. Why would he do that? Why step in? He didn't know. No, he felt it, though. He was tired. Tired of the noise, the fighting, the screaming of things that called themselves gods and kings, all trying to prove they were right. He didn't do it for glory. He didn't want praise. He just wanted quiet. That was the kind of person he used to be. Not a hero. Just someone who got fed up with all the noise. He looked back at the Lord of Dominion, eyes narrowing slightly. You said, "The one who betrayed me is back." The Lord nodded. Joshua didn't speak for a long while. Betrayed. That word stuck to the roof of his mouth like bitter gum. Who? Who betrayed him? Was it someone he knew? Someone he trusted? He couldn't remember, but he felt it in his chest, like a splinter that had been there for centuries. A face. A voice. Someone standing beside him, then behind him, then a blade. And pain. He winced. There it was again. Not just a memory, a scar, deeper than flesh. He looked out the glass wall of the tower. The sky still looked clear, but he could feel the thunder waiting behind it, like something was watching, smiling. Zariel, the Lord said quietly. Joshua flinched. Don't call me that, he muttered. Why not? Because that's not who I am anymore. The Lord of Dominion stepped forward. Then who are you? Joshua didn't answer. He didn't know yet. All he knew was everything was changing now. And whether he liked it or not, he couldn't stay Joshua forever. Not with the seal breaking. Not with them coming. Chapter 171. Architect of Ruin. Joshua sat down on the steps at the edge of the tower's chamber. He didn't say a word. Just sat there, breathing a little too fast, hands on his knees, looking at the floor like it held answers, like if he stared long enough it'd all make sense. Didn't. Behind him, Alice hovered nervously, unsure if she should say something, but the moment she opened her mouth, another voice beat her to it. Raphael. He stepped forward, eyes narrowed on the man who called himself Lord of Dominion. Okay, Raphael said, voice sharp. You gonna tell us who the hell you really are? Freya joined him, pale, calm, but her fingers were glowing faintly, that weird ice light that only came when she felt something was off. We just got dragged through some kind of broken dimension, saw memories that weren't ours, and now you're standing here like some NPC with answers, she said coolly. So yeah, start talking. The Lord didn't blink. He just stared out the glass wall again. Thunder rumbled, softer this time. And then he finally spoke. My name is Varian. His voice wasn't loud, but it filled the room, like it didn't need volume to matter. Raphael's grip tightened on his sword. Varian. Never heard of you. You wouldn't have. I was erased, Varian replied. Freya raised an eyebrow. Erased. Varian turned. Slowly. His coat, if it could even be called that, shifted like smoke soaked in galaxies. Stars blinked in its folds. Planes of reality layered in threads. Once, I was one of the sovereign arbiters, he said. I watched over convergence points, those strange places where reality begins to tangle. I wasn't made to rule. I was made to contain. Raphael glanced at Freya. Contain what? Varian's eyes flickered. Not with light, with weight, like he carried too many years behind them. Beings that shouldn't exist. The air in the tower dropped a degree. No one said anything. Varian's gaze drifted to Joshua Zariel, still seated, quiet. And I failed, he added. Alice stepped closer. You failed. Varian nodded. Zariel wasn't supposed to exist. That's true. His creation wasn't the will of gods or devils. It wasn't even some twisted science experiment or forbidden spell. His hand moved, slow, deliberate, and drew a simple circle in the air. It glowed white, then gold, then pitch black, then cracked. A collective will, he said. Something above the gods, above the devils, older than the first dimension. It summoned him, from ideas, from contradictions, from the echoes between yes and no. Freya frowned. You mean like, the universe made him? No, Varian said, voice firmer. The things that made the universe made him. Silence again. Only the sound of Joshua breathing. His mother, Varian continued slowly, was the first flame, the end, the last true devil. Her name was Kalazura. She burned reality just by existing. Raphael blinked. What the hell kind of name is Kalazura? And his father, Varian interrupted, was the last of the true gods, before they fell into blood and ego and extinction. Name? Freya asked quietly. Ilarion, Varian replied. The god of eternity. He wrote the first laws, not with language, with meaning. Joshua flinched slightly at the sound of the name, like it woke something. So you're telling us, Raphael muttered, that this guy, he pointed at Joshua, is literally the son of the strongest devil and the last true god? Varian nodded. He's not half. He's not mixed. He's a fusion. A new blueprint. Alice whispered. That's why he's called a variable. Yes, the gray variable. Because he doesn't fit any of the old balances. Light, dark, chaos, order. He's all of them, and none. Joshua rubbed his temples again. Still didn't help. Freya crossed her arms. And what's your role in all this? Babysitter. Varian finally smiled. Just a little.
Sad.
I was his warden, he said. And his executioner, if necessary. Freya's mouth twitched. You were going to kill a child? He wasn't a child, Varian replied. Not really. Not when the stars bent when he cried. Not when his laughter warped time. You can't call that a child. You call that a warning. Freya didn't like that answer, but she stayed quiet. Varian stepped forward slowly, his boots making no sound against the crystal floor. I sealed him, buried his name, altered his essence, dropped him into a minor branch universe where the magic was thin, the gods were myths, and fate was lazy. Earth, Alice said. Yes, Earth Variant 73X. And now, Raphael asked, now you just pull the seal off like a band-aid? Varian looked back at Joshua again.
No.
The seal is failing because the one who tried to unmake him has returned. Joshua's head snapped up. There it was again. That splinter. Who? He asked, voice hoarse. Varian's voice dropped lower. Valak, the architect of ruin. Freya stiffened. That name's not real. It is, Varian said. He was the third part of the design, the balancing node, a creature built to oppose Zariel if he went rogue. Like a counterweight, Raphael muttered. Yes, but he broke. He turned. He tried to devour the collective will. Failed. Was shattered. Now he's reforming, gathering shards, preparing for a second attempt. Joshua stood up slowly, like the weight in his bones just got heavier. So you brought me back to fight him? No, Varian said. Then he looked Joshua straight in the eye. I brought you back because he remembers you, and he's coming to finish what he started. Somewhere far beyond the fabric of that tower, beyond stars, beyond systems, beyond the walls of any known reality. A single eye opened.
No breath. No heartbeat.
Just the slow, deliberate blink of awareness returning to something old. Something other. A second eye followed. Then a breath that was not a breath. A whisper through the bones of collapsing dimensions. The figure sat up slowly, as if waking from a dream that had lasted longer than history itself. His skin shimmered like molten onyx. His eyes were empty, not in the way of blindness, but in the way of things that had seen too much. Like they had looked behind the curtain of reality and hadn't liked what they found. He sat on nothing, surrounded by nothing, but even that nothing tensed as he stirred. "He's awake," the figure said softly. His voice didn't echo, simply was, a vibration that rippled across dead timelines and fractured realms. From the void, a whisper answered him. "Zariel." The figure smiled, slowly, not with joy, not with anger, with inevitability. "Varian moved the pieces," he murmured. "The seal is cracking. The pattern is shifting." He flexed his fingers. The motion tore a thin gash through what might have once been time. Screams bled from it, not human screams. Concepts howling as they were rewritten. He stood. He didn't rise. He unfolded like a god remembering it was a god. "The gray variable returns," he said. "Then so must the collapse." Behind him the void pulsed, a rhythm forming, like the heartbeat of something ancient trying to start again. He turned, gazing toward a direction that didn't exist, yet still pointed directly toward Universe 73X. "I remember you, Zariel," he said, "and this time you won't choose mercy." And then, with a step that broke no laws because it ignored them entirely, the architect of ruin moved. Valak had awakened. The end had already begun. Chapter 172. Making a Decision. Varian stepped forward, his coat still trailing stars in its folds, and folded his hands behind his back. He was calm, too calm, like the kind of calm that only came from someone who'd lived through too many endings. "Now that everything is sorted," he said, voice quiet but firm, "I believe the best course of action is to return home to the origin realm. There you can begin restoring what was sealed, regain your power, and prepare to stop the architect of ruin. Only then can you reclaim what was always meant to be yours." Joshua didn't answer at first. His hands were in his pockets, his head tilted slightly to the side. His eyes were still on the floor, like he was trying to see if the cracks in the tiles could tell him what to do. Then, finally, he exhaled. A short breath, almost a laugh but not quite. "Yeah, I don't think I'll be going back." Silence. Not the dramatic kind, just the weird, uncomfortable kind. Like everyone heard him, but they weren't sure if they were supposed to react yet. Varian's gaze didn't flicker. He just blinked, slowly. "I wasn't offering a choice," he said simply. Joshua looked up. "I didn't ask for one." Varian stepped closer, and the air shifted with him. Gravity bending just a little, like the world was warning them that this guy was not just some old man in a cloak. "You don't understand what's coming," he said, voice like distant thunder. "When the architect of ruin arrives, there won't be any running. Not to Earth. Not to some pocket realm. Not even to the God plane." "I didn't say I was running," Joshua replied, tone low. "I just said I'm not going back. And I'm telling you," Varian said, sharper now, "if you don't, you will die." The words landed like stones. Joshua blinked. "Cool," he muttered. "Then I die." Freya winced slightly. Raphael made a face like he just bit a lemon. Alice was biting her lip. "You're not listening," Varian pressed, and for the first time, there was something close to frustration in his voice. "The only way you stand a chance is if you return to the origin realm. That's where your roots are. That's where the seal was forged. That's where the power still sleeps. This version of you, this tired, confused shell, it isn't enough." He paused, letting it hang. "You've forgotten too much. Your body barely remembers how to bend space, let alone command it. And ruin, he hasn't forgotten anything. He's evolving, absorbing broken laws, gathering shards of lost gods. If he finishes rebuilding himself before you do, then there will be no future." Raphael rubbed the back of his head. "Kind of feels like he's got a point." "I'm tired," Joshua muttered again, more to himself. "I'm not ready to be whoever the hell you think I am." "You don't have to be ready," another voice cut in. It was Aurora. She'd been quiet the whole time, standing off to the side, eyes closed. Now she opened them. And they were glowing. Not just with light, but with possibilities. She walked forward slowly. And as she did, tiny echoes of other futures shimmered around her like glass reflections. Some broken, some whole. "I've seen what happens when you stay here," she said softly. "I've seen timelines where you pretend none of this is real, where you try to stay human, where you try to just exist." She stopped in front of him, looked up at him. "They all end the same way." Joshua looked at her. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. "You die," she said. "We all do. And worse, the universe phrase. The concept of balance itself begins to collapse. Ruin doesn't just kill you. He rewrites the meaning of life around you." Varian nodded slowly. "He becomes the new constant." Joshua clenched his jaw. Aurora continued. "But if you return to the origin realm, if you start remembering what you are, I've seen outcomes where you win. Not many, but enough. You may not become the hero. You may not even fix everything. But you'll be able to fight, to resist." Her voice trembled just slightly. "And I believe in those futures, because they feel real." A faint chime echoed through the chamber then. A soft, melodic hum. And that's when the oracle stepped forward. She hadn't said anything since they arrived. She barely moved unless needed. But now, the ancient figure in silver and violet took one step and the air around her rippled like silk underwater. "Confirmed," she said simply. "Probability density exceeds 91%. All survival-based projections depend on Subject Zariel's return to the origin realm." Her voice wasn't robotic, but it was strange. Too smooth, too certain. "Conditions are not favorable in this dimensional node," she continued. "Magic density insufficient. Divine tether unstable. Time thread elasticity compromised. Full restoration of core protocol is only possible within the origin matrix." Everyone turned to look at Joshua. Even he sighed at that one. All right. You guys have really rehearsed this speech." He turned to Varian. "You sure there's no other way?" Varian gave him a look. One of those "I'm a cosmic being, not your therapist" kind of looks. "There's always another way," he said. "But they're all worse." Joshua rubbed his temples again. His fingers shook slightly, not from fear but from the exhaustion of knowing, of remembering, of that familiar weight pushing down on him again. Being Zariel was not fun. It was not epic. It was not cool. It was everything all at once. All the time. "You said the origin realm was locked," he muttered. Varian nodded. "It was. But, it's open now," the oracle said. Slightly, weakly. "The gateway exists." Aurora added, "Enough to get in. Maybe not enough to come out, but enough to start." Joshua looked at her. She held his gaze. "It's your only real shot," she said. Joshua finally looked back at the glass wall. The storm outside was slowly clearing. The tower hummed quietly.
Distant planes chimmered.
"And if I go?" he asked. "What happens then?" Varian smiled faintly. "Then the fun begins." Joshua scowled. "I hate your definition of fun." Freya smirked. "You'll fit right in." The tower's core hummed louder now. The air shimmered. The oracle raised her hand, and a circle of silver glyphs spun open in the center of the room. The portal to the origin realm had begun forming. "Damn it," Joshua muttered. He stepped forward. "Guess we're going home." "What home?" Chapter 173, Going to the Origin Realm. Joshua had just stepped forward, the portal to the origin realm glowing like a slowly spinning galaxy, when a voice cut through the silence. "What home?" Everyone turned at once. 3 figures stood at the entrance of the chamber, their silhouettes framed against the fading light from the outer corridor. Adam, Alfred, and Arya, back from the Taiyu realm. A little worn, a little dirty, but very much alive. Adam was the one who'd spoken, his arms crossed, his tone casual but sharp, that usual mix of sarcasm and suspicion that clung to him like his shadow. "What do you mean home?" he repeated, walking in slowly. Someone want to explain why there's a galactic drain hole opening in the middle of this room? Joshua blinked. His jaw twitched slightly, but then he turned, walking straight toward Adam. You came at the worst possible time, he muttered. Or the best? Alfred shrugged, brushing dust off his sleeves. What is this? Arya asked softly, eyes narrowing at the spinning portal. Varian didn't speak. He just watched, arms still behind his back, like a headmaster letting the students sort themselves out. Joshua stopped a few feet in front of Adam. Okay, he started, rubbing the back of his neck. This is going to sound insane. Adam tilted his head. You're literally standing in a tower made of starlight about to jump into what looks like the inside of a black hole. Go ahead. Shock me. Joshua exhaled. You remember when all this madness started? When we were just figuring out magic. All the weird symbols, the dreams, the time glitches. You mean your trauma arc? Yeah. Turns out there's a reason all that was happening. Turns out I'm not from here. Not really. Adam raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Joshua looked at the portal, then back. I'm from the Origin Realm.
Adam blinked.
Alfred frowned.
Arya took a small step forward. The hell is that? Adam asked. Joshua pointed at the spinning glyphs. It's the place where everything started. Not Earth. Not even the higher planes. Before all that. It's like the root of existence. The blueprint. The code before the code. And apparently that's where I'm from. Or at least where who I really am is from. Adam crossed his arms tighter. You saying you're some kind of ancient space baby? I'm saying that everything I've been doing here, it's just a sliver, a fraction of what I'm supposed to be. Varian told me that the only way to stand against what's coming is to go back there. Reconnect. Regain what I lost. He paused, then added, there's something called the Architect of Ruin, a being that's not like anything we've faced. He's unraveling laws.
Devo urin krisischen.
And he's coming. Adam looked at Varian now. This true? Varian inclined his head. There is no hyperbole in what he said. The Architect is beyond destruction. He doesn't just break things. He makes them meaningless.
Alfred whistelt.
Cheerful. Arya looked between them. So you're saying Joshua's the only one who can stop him?
No, Joshua replied.
I'm saying I might be able to stop him, but only if I go back. Only if I remember what I really am. Adam walked around the portal slowly, like a wolf circling a campfire. And what are you exactly? Joshua shrugged, still figuring that part out. Aurora stepped forward again. He is Zariel. Not just a name, a role. A being born from the prime thread. An anchor, a lens, a breaker of loops. Adam raised an eyebrow. Sounds like an overcomplicated mess. It is, Joshua said. Believe me. Varian finally walked forward. The floor didn't even creak under him. You don't have to fully understand him, but you need to understand that if he stays here, he dies. We all do. This realm will not withstand the coming wave. Not without its origin-born protector.
Adam suinted.
Let me get this straight. This whole time you've been running around dealing with cursed relics, rogue gods, and psycho realm-hopping maniacs. And you're telling me this entire universe is basically a side story. Varian smiled faintly. You could say that. Adam turned back to Joshua. And you were gonna leave without telling me? Joshua looked down. I didn't know how to explain it. And I didn't think I'd even agree to go until 5 minutes ago. You don't even know if you can come back? Do you? Joshua hesitated.
No.
Adam stared at him for a long time. Then he looked at the portal again. The swirl of colors, the layered runes, the echo of deep space singing softly from inside it. Then, softly, he said, So you're gonna go be a god again. I'm not a god. Close enough. Arya stepped forward now. Her voice was gentler. And you trust him? This guy who just told you you're something else entirely. Joshua nodded. I don't have much of a choice. But yeah.
Ido.
She touched his arm. Then we trust you. Adam looked away, jaw clenched. Then finally muttered, You're still an idiot. Joshua smiled faintly. I know. Aurora reached out, her hand glowing faintly. The portal stabilized, the glyphs locking into place. Time is thin, she said. If you're going, it has to be now. Joshua looked at them all. Freya, Raphael, Alice, Aurora, the Oracle, Varian,
Adam.
Arya. Alfred.
all of them had stood beside him, and now he was about to leave them behind. He stepped closer to Adam. If I don't come back, don't finish that sentence, Adam snapped. 'Cause I'm coming with you, and if this ruin guy is what you say it is, then if you can't stop him, I can and will do so effortlessly. Joshua opened his mouth to argue, maybe to tell Adam this wasn't his fight, but Adam just raised a finger. Wait here. Before anyone could ask anything, Adam tapped a glowing sigil on the side of his watch. Alexandria, Jordan, Kaeldar, get to the tower. Now. There was a pulse, a shimmer in the air, and thwomp. 3 figures blinked into the room like they'd stepped through fog. Seriously? Jordan asked, looking around. Did I just walk into a season finale? Close enough, Adam said, turning to them. We're going through that. Alexandria just cracked her neck. Finally. Joshua blinked. Wait. What? Adam, this isn't. Shut up, Adam said, pointing at him. You're not the only one with secrets. Let's go. Then he turned. His parents, Raphael and Freya, stood quietly near the steps, not saying anything, just watching. Adam met their eyes, didn't say a word, just nodded once. Freya smiled, small, but warm. Raphael's hand clenched at his side, like he wanted to speak, but he didn't. Adam turned back to the portal. The humming grew louder. The runes started spinning faster. The whole tower thrummed like it was alive. Varian gave one final nod. It's ready. Adam stepped forward first. Didn't hesitate. Didn't look back. Jordan followed with a lazy shrug. Let's go break something cosmic. Alexandria gave a small salute to no one in particular, then walked into the light like it was a hallway. Joshua looked one last time at the others, his friends, his family. Then he walked into the portal. The moment he touched it, everything shattered. Light bent, time twisted, stars bled into lines. Sound disappeared. Silence swallowed everything. Then, nothing. Then, boom! A burst of white. Chapter 174. Darken. Origin Realm. The burst of white faded slowly, like fog pulled back by a gentle wind. Then, colors. Not just colors like blue or red or green, but ones that felt alive. Colors that didn't have names. Colors that shimmered and shifted the longer you stared. Joshua landed first. Not hard. Not soft either. Just landed like the realm decided gravity was optional today. He hovered a few inches above a platform that looked like smooth obsidian, except it reflected stars beneath it like a window into space. The others dropped in right after. Adam, boots first, arms crossed as if bored. Jordan stumbled a bit, muttering something about needing a drink. Alexandria just landed like a blade being sheathed. They all looked around. The sky, or what passed for one, was a swirling aurora of galaxies and dreamlight. Nebulas drifted lazily, like clouds that had forgotten how to rain. In the distance, there were towers, huge, elegant spires that twisted like vines into the stars, glowing with pale silver veins. Bridges of light connected them, and creatures the size of cities floated across the horizon, their wings trailing cosmic dust. It wasn't loud, but there was sound, a low hum, like the heartbeat of the universe. This place is insane, Jordan muttered, staring at a glowing koi fish the size of a bus swimming through the air. No gravity, Alexandria noted, tapping her foot against the floating platform. No rules either, apparently. Adam tilted his head. Looks like someone's desktop wallpaper threw up. Joshua didn't say anything. He was just staring, because something in him remembered. Not a full memory, not words, but a feeling, like a song he used to know. He took a slow step forward. The ground responded, expanding, pulsing gently beneath him. The stars beneath his feet blinked, aligning themselves like a map. "What now?" Alexandria asked, scanning the distance. "Where's your ancient power-up zone or whatever?" "I don't know," Joshua replied. "I think it'll come to us."
Adam snorted.
Well, that's not ominous at all. Just then, the platform rumbled. Lines of light shot out in all directions, tracing massive geometric shapes in the void. Circles within circles. Patterns that bent space. And from the far end of the sky, something moved. It wasn't flying. It was just there suddenly, like reality skipped a beat. A figure, cloaked, floating above one of the far towers. Too far to see clearly, but somehow they all felt it. Pressure. Not crushing. Just old. Like looking at something that had seen the birth of time. Joshua felt his chest tighten. Adam just stared. "Friend of yours?" "Nope," Joshua whispered. The figure raised a hand. Varian's eyes narrowed slightly, a quiet chuckle escaping his lips. Still dramatic as ever, Draken. The figure stepped out from the glow. His cloak shifted like smoke, shadows slipping off his form as he moved. Eyes gleamed, slitted, ancient. His boots hit the white floor with soft thuds, but the pressure in the air was anything but soft. Then humph. The cloak peeled away in an instant. Wings unfurled. Not bat-like. Not leathery. Smooth. Shimmering like glass dipped in twilight. His body rippled, scaled and coiled. His neck stretching, horns curling back like black metal. Draken wasn't human. He was a dragon. A real one. Not just large, but elegant. Regal. Every motion was deliberate, each breath full of weight. His long tail curled lazily behind him, brushing against the edge of the floating stone they stood on. No one spoke. Then Draken turned. His golden eyes locked onto Kael'thar, who stood towering at the edge, half-shadowed. His own colossal wings tucked in, tail wrapped neatly like a resting god. And then Draken bowed. Not a small dip of the head. A full bow. Head to the ground. Wings drawn in. Ancient magic pulsed off him like a deep bass note vibrating in everyone's bones. Even Joshua blinked. "Wait, what?" Aurora's mouth dropped open slightly. Did a dragon just bow? Kael'thar didn't move at first. His expression was unreadable. Dragons were always hard to read. But his eyes flicked with a sharp glint of surprise. Maybe even confusion. Draken's voice rolled out. Deep, calm, unshaking. "I sensed your return, Kael'thar. I followed the echo across the strands. I never thought I'd see you again." Adam leaned closer to Joshua and whispered, So, is that a normal thing around here? Dragons bowing to dragons?" Joshua whispered back, "Dude, I don't even know what day it is anymore." Arya tilted her head. "Kael'thar, is he important?" "Very," Varian said quietly. "If Draken's bowing, then Kael'thar isn't just a dragon. He's the dragon." Jordan stared. "Man, I was just hoping for space sushi or something." Kael'thar finally stepped forward, his claws clicking lightly on the ground. His towering frame loomed over Draken. He lowered his head just slightly. "Rise." Draken did, slowly.
No arrogance.
No challenge. Just deep respect. "I will follow where you walk," he said simply. "As I once did before the fall." That made the silence hit harder. Adam let out a low whistle, grinning like a kid who just poked a sleeping lion. "Well, if you're bowing to him, then you gotta bow to me too," he said, arms folded, chin raised cockily. "Technically, I created him, named him too." The silence cracked. Draken's eyes narrowed. His lip curled just a little, more confusion than anger, but then it shifted. His clawed hand twitched. Whip. He lashed out. A blur. But before Adam could even raise a finger to stop him, crack. A fist slammed into Draken's jaw from the side. He staggered, caught off guard. His wings flared, half spread as he dug into the ground to steady himself. Dust burst around his feet. Jordan stood there, arms still extended from the punch, his expression blank. Well, kind of annoyed. "Bro, chill." Everyone froze.
Adam Blinked.
Okay, wow. Draken straightened slowly, his neck cracking as he turned to face Jordan. Eyes glowing faintly now. Not furious, just surprised. You struck me? Draken said, voice low, like rolling thunder right before rain. Yup. Jordan rubbed his knuckles. You tried to claw my friend. There was a pause. You could hear someone gulp. Probably Joshua. Alfred leaned forward, whispering to Freya. Jordan just punched a dragon. I know, Arya whispered back. He didn't even flinch. Draken tilted his head, wings folding back in slowly. His eyes scanned Jordan's face. Then a smirk. It was small, barely there, but it was there. You've got guts, Draken muttered. Most mortals would be ash by now. Guess I'm not mortal, Jordan said, shrugging. Adam threw an arm around Jordan's shoulder. See? That's why I keep this guy around. Draken glanced back at Kael'thar, then at Adam again. I still don't bow to you, he said flatly.
Adam laughed.
Worth a shot. Varian just shook his head. Why does every serious moment around you end in violence or sarcasm? Balance, Adam said with a wink. Kael'thar watched silently, his giant form unmoving. But his tail flicked once, almost like a silent laugh. The tension was gone now, but everyone knew. This gathering just got a lot more interesting. Chapter 175, Power Boost 1. Run, brother! The older boy shouted, voice sharp with panic. The younger one's feet pounded against the forest floor, breath shaky, eyes wide. Leaves slapped his face as he pushed through the thick brush. Behind them, shouts, dogs barking, the crunch of boots. They're getting closer, the kid cried. I know, the older one snapped, grabbing his brother's arm and pulling him sharply to the left, down a slope. This way. They slid, dirt and rocks flying behind them. The forest around them blurred, trees flashing past like streaks of green and black. Crack! A bullet tore through a branch above their heads. Bark exploded. The younger boy yelped, stumbled, but the older one caught him. Don't stop. They're not going to show mercy, he said, eyes glowing faintly now. Just for a second. A soft shimmer, like starlight rippling under his skin. More men appeared at the top of the slope. Guns raised. There. Don't let them escape. The older boy cursed under his breath. He turned, one arm stretched out behind him protectively. Keep running. Whatever you do, don't look back. But I said go. The younger boy hesitated, then ran again, eyes brimming with tears. The older one clenched his fists. His whole body lit with that same shimmer again. Celestial light weaving along his arms like glowing veins. Come on then, he muttered. One of the humans fired again. But this time the bullet stopped midair. Just hovered. The hunters froze. Then the bullet shattered into particles. The boy stepped forward, light now pulsing out from him in waves. His hoodie ripped at the sleeves as his form flickered, just briefly, between boy and something far more divine. The sky above started to swirl. But even then, he didn't attack. He just stood there, a glowing wall between the hunters and his brother. Far ahead, the younger boy tripped and looked back, just in time to see his brother shining. Brother! And then everything lit up. Back to Adam. Aurora suddenly stopped in her tracks. Her eyes narrowed, and her smile faded. You guys go on without me? She said quietly, turning her head slightly. Draken immediately frowned. What? Before he could ask anything else, Aurora spoke again without looking at him. I can see the future. That shut him up. The others turned, confused. Even the air around her felt weird now. Still but heavy, like time itself was holding its breath. What do you mean? Draken finally said. Aurora's gaze was distant, almost blank, like she wasn't really there. Something's coming. If I go with you, it changes everything. Changes what? She blinked, eyes slowly clearing, then smiled again, calm, too calm. Don't worry, I'll catch up. You're being weird again. Arya muttered. Aurora tilted her head. I'm always weird. Then, with a small wave, she stepped back, vanishing into a ripple of light like a reflection breaking on water. The others stared. She just dipped, Alfred muttered. Alexandria let out a low sigh. TCH. I hate when she does that. Wait, are you all not going to talk about the fact that Aurora just laughed? Adam said, still smirking as he stared at the spot where she vanished. There was a moment of silence. Then Joshua blinked. No, yeah, she did. That was a laugh, right? Definitely a laugh, Arya added, tilting her head. And not the creepy kind. Like, an actual happy laugh. Alfred just nodded slowly. I've known her for over 15 years. I've never heard her laugh. Not once. I thought her voice box skipped that part.
Adam çaklet.
Guess she's full of surprises today. The wind rustled the grass, and for a moment they all stood there, the faint echo of Aurora's laugh still lingering in the back of their minds. Draken crossed his arms, muttering, "Weird girl." Joshua smirked. "You like her." "Shut up." The group started moving again, the mood lighter than before, even if no one wanted to admit it. Somewhere far ahead, Aurora smiled to herself without even knowing why. Varian exhaled sharply, arms crossed. "All right, enough standing around. We don't have time to dilly-dally anymore." Everyone turned to him. He raised a brow. "Why are you all looking at me like that?" No one answered. They just kept staring, expecting him to lead. Varian sighed, then slowly turned his head toward Kaeldar. Kaeldar, the massive towering dragon, immediately narrowed his glowing golden eyes.
No.
Varian didn't even say anything. "I said no," Kaeldar repeated firmly. "Only my father rides me." He shot a glance at Adam, who simply gave a small nod, hands in his pockets. "Yeah," Adam said casually. "He doesn't do passengers." Varian groaned and turned away. "Fine, just an idea." Draken caught the look in his eyes and stepped in. "And don't even think about asking me." "I wasn't going to," Varian muttered. "You were definitely going to," Draken replied, pointing a clawed finger at him. Varian raised his hands in surrender. All right. He looked back at the group. "No ride then, which means we fly. All of us." "Fly?" Arya asked, her face flat. "To where?"
Carrion Sol.
A sharp silence dropped over the group. That's across the continent," Alfred said slowly. "Yeah," Varian nodded. "It is." Joshua sighed, cracking his neck. "This is gonna be a long flight." Then a quiet voice broke in from the back. "Can I see it?" Everyone turned. Alice stepped forward, calm as ever, her hands behind her back. "I mean the place," she said.
Carrion Sol.
"Just a mental image. If I can see it clearly, I might be able to teleport." Varian's face went deadpan.
No.
Alice blinked. "Why not?" "You'll die." That was blunt. Alice frowned slightly. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Varian's tone was sharper now. "You're good, Alice. But not that good. Not yet. You try to teleport that distance in your current state, and you're gonna split yourself in half or get stuck halfway in a mountain. Or just pop." Joshua winced. "Please don't pop." Alice went quiet again. Varian turned back to the sky, eyes narrowing. "The safest way is still the long way," he said, voice low but firm. Alice Catch. Chapter 176. Power Boost 2. Alice Catch. Adam's voice cut through the air like a thread of stillness. Without even looking, he flicked his wrist, and something flew through it, gleaming. Alice's hand moved on reflex. Thunk. She caught it with ease. A small orb sat in her palm now. Smooth, glassy, but faintly pulsing. Colors shifted inside it. Soft purples, deep blues, a spiral of silver light swimming like a nebula inside a marble. Felt warm. "What is this?" Alice asked, blinking at it. Adam turned slightly, hands still in his pockets. His expression unreadable as always. But his eyes, those eyes sparkled faintly. like he knew something no one else did. It's a gift, he said. From me to you. Alice frowned faintly, tilting her head. A gift.
Adam nodded.
Absorb it. She looked at him, then looked back down at the orb. What's it going to do? See for yourself, Adam replied almost lazily. Humph. Alice exhaled softly. Then, without another word, she closed her eyes and pressed the orb to her chest. Vroom. In an instant, the orb melted into her skin, dissolving like liquid starlight. Her body jerked slightly. Her eyes snapped open. Then, boom! A shockwave exploded from her. The earth cracked beneath her feet. The air twisted. Everyone stumbled back from the force. What the? Joshua staggered. Whoa! What the hell? Alfred shouted, shielding his face from the blast of wind. Alice's body lifted off the ground, levitating as glowing rings of runes spiraled up around her. The sky directly above began to warp, turning violet, stars flickering in broad daylight. Arya squinted through the wind. What is happening to her? Draken's mouth dropped open. That's not mana. Kaeldar narrowed his eyes. That's dimensional force. The magic around Alice had no center. It didn't swirl like fire or flow like water. It folded. Space itself seemed to bend around her. 1 second she was 5 feet away. Then, just for a blink, she wasn't. Then she was again. Like reality was lagging. Alice's hair whipped wildly, her calm expression cracking into one of shock. I can feel it. Crack. Another pulse of energy shattered the ground in a perfect circle. She gasped, clutching her chest. Her pupils dilated, turning into fractals of stars. Her veins glowed a vivid silver, running through her skin like rivers of cosmic force. I can feel everything, she whispered. Space. Every distance. Every coordinate. Every fold in reality. It was like her brain had unlocked a map of existence. She didn't just know where she was. She knew where everything else was too. She didn't move to step. She just was wherever she wanted to be. I can, she whispered. I can be anywhere. Adam smirked slightly. Congratulations, he said softly, almost teasingly. You're the absolute monarch of space now. Alice slowly descended, her feet touching the cracked earth again. But she didn't stop glowing. The aura around her pulsed with authority. Reality itself seemed to lean away from her, like it recognized a new ruler. Arya Gokt. She just ascended. Varian's eyes narrowed. Just like that. Alice looked down at her hand. She opened her palm, and space around it folded in, like a tiny black hole formed and closed within a second. She blinked. Then, in a shimmer, she vanished. Not a sound. Not a ripple. She was just gone.
Alfred gasped.
Did she just? Wait, look. Joshua pointed upward. They all turned. Far in the sky, above the clouds, Alice hovered. She had reappeared without warning, arms crossed, looking down at them with wide eyes. Then bam. She was on the ground again.
No transition.
No trail. Just instant. I can teleport, she said, stunned. Without even thinking. Not just teleport, Adam added, his voice low. You can rewrite space. That includes creating it, tearing it, locking it. Alice looked at him. This was inside the orb?
Adam nodded.
It's not just a power-up. It's your power unlocked. I just helped. She stared at him a moment longer, like trying to figure something out. Then her gaze dropped slightly. Thank you. Adam blinked, then smiled. You're welcome. Alfred walked up slowly, staring at her. So, can you take us to Carrion Sol now? Alice tilted her head. I could. But like Varian said, she raised a hand. Reality bent around it like glass. I could kill myself if I screw up the coordinates, she admitted. But, Arya asked. Alice slowly smiled. But now, I think I can handle it. A faint portal, no, a tear in space, opened behind her, showing a warped, glimmering image of distant lands, glowing towers and golden skies. The others froze. Is that? Carrion Soul, Alice confirmed. Roughly a mile from the entrance gates. I locked onto it. Varian stepped forward, cautious. You sure? Alice nodded, her expression calm. Try it. It won't pop you. Adam walked up beside her. He didn't speak, but gave her a small, approving nod. Alice, the absolute monarch of space, turned to the rest. Well, she said softly, let's go. And one by one they stepped into the portal. The world shimmered behind them. The wind stilled. The portal snapped shut behind them with the soundless precision of folding silk. And then, they stood on solid ground. A golden plain stretched before them, veined with roads of glowing silver stone. Enormous spires soared toward the sky, their surfaces pulsing with light, not from torches or lamps, but from runes embedded deep in the architecture. Above, twin suns glided across a lavender sky, and a third, smaller orb of blue flame hovered in orbit behind them, a celestial lantern trailing energy like a comet's tail.
Wo, Alfred Visperet?
This is Carrion Soul, Varian confirmed, his voice soft. The last city of the Shattered Age. Alice glanced around, her aura slowly dimming as she adjusted. The gravitational pull here was different, lighter, more fluid. Space was less rigid. She felt it in her bones. Her powers whispered constantly, detailing every spatial contour of the environment like a living radar. Arya approached her, looking up with concern. Are you all right? Alice nodded. Better than all right.
Joshua steppet beside Alfred.
So this is where the Star Council meets?
No, Varian answered.
This is the city built above their chambers. Draken's eyes sharpened, which means the real entrance is beneath us.
Tiepter 177. Eli.
The world slowed. Leaves hung in the air midfall. The wind died to a hush, like the forest itself held its breath. The boy sat up from where he'd fallen. Scraped knees stinging, breath hitching in his throat. He blinked rapidly, trying to wipe away the tears. That's when he saw her. A soft shimmer, like moonlight through morning mist. She was just there, standing between two tall trees, golden strands of hair drifting in the air like they had a will of their own. Her dress flowed like water, pale blue, glowing faintly at the edges. Her eyes warm, like sunlight after rain, gentle.
So gentle.
Then she stepped forward, barefoot on the forest floor, not making a sound. She knelt in front of him, one hand cupping his cheek. Her fingers were warm. He blinked up at her. "W.H. who?" She smiled, soft as feathers. "Hey there." The boy flinched. "W.H. Where did you come from?" She tilted her head, amusement flickering in her eyes. "Just now. You weren't here. Wasn't supposed to be. But then I felt you fall." Her voice was strange. Not accent-heavy, but clear, almost echoing even though she wasn't loud. She felt like a dream. He looked past her toward the rise. "My brother, he's still." She gently placed a finger on his lips. "Shoo. I know." Tears welled up in his eyes again. "They're gonna hurt him." Her smile faded, but her eyes never lost that warmth. "What's your name?" "Eli," the boy whispered. "My name is Eli." "Well then, Eli." She leaned closer, her nose almost touching his. "My name is Aurora." He blinked. "Aurora." She nodded. "Are you an angel?" That made her laugh, soft and musical.
No.
"Not quite." "Then, what are you?" She tapped his forehead lightly. "Someone who heard you scream on the inside." Eli stared at her, heart pounding. Can you save him?" Aurora's smile returned, but this time, there was something else behind it, like steel hiding behind silk. "That's the reason I'm here." Eli's lips parted, eyes wide. "Really?" She stood slowly, her hair floating behind her like a banner. "Close your eyes for a second, Eli." "Why?" "Because this part might be a little loud." She turned. The forest behind them seemed to ripple, as though it sensed her. As though even the trees knew someone different was here now. Eli closed his eyes, hands over his ears. Aurora raised her hand, and the sky cracked. Wham! A pulse of light shot up from her body. Pure white and gold, so bright even the hunters on the slope had to shield their eyes. The clouds twisted into a spiral, forming a giant glowing ring in the sky. Time rushed forward again. Eli opened one eye. Up the slope, dozens of feet away, his brother stood, still holding the line, still glowing faintly. But now the hunters weren't aiming at him. They were staring at Aurora. She stood between them and Eli, arms down, wind swirling around her like she belonged to the sky. The lead hunter took a step forward. "Who the hell are?" Aurora snapped her fingers. Crack! The ground under the hunter's feet reversed, literally folded inward like paper being pulled in, and he disappeared with a yelp, like he'd fallen through the floor of the world. The rest of the hunters froze. What they? What is she? Aurora walked forward slowly, every step blooming with light that dissolved the leaves before they touched her. "You came into these woods with guns." Her voice echoed now, 4 layers of her speaking at once. "You chased children." Her eyes glowed white, not blinding, but deep, like you'd fall forever if you stared too long. "You dared to fire." She raised her hand, and the guns flew, ripped from their owners, hovering mid-air in front of her like they'd been summoned by gravity itself. One by one, they melted into golden dust. One hunter screamed and turned to run. Aurora didn't move. She just looked at him, and the trees in front of him moved, like they shifted themselves to block him, vines wrapping around his legs, dragging him down gently but firmly. She finally turned her head. The older boy, still pulsing with that strange celestial light, was staring at her, breathing hard, eyes wide. He didn't say anything. Neither did she. But something passed between them, and slowly his body dimmed, returning to his human form, shaking with exhaustion. Aurora walked up to him. "He okay?" he asked hoarsely, his voice breaking. Aurora smiled. "He's waiting for you." He looked like he was about to cry. "Thank you." "You protected him," she said gently. "I just handled the cleanup." Then, just as softly, she reached out and touched his forehead. "Sleep." He slumped forward, and before he could hit the ground, she caught him, held him like a mother would her own child, then slowly carried him down the slope. Eli ran toward them. "Brother!" Aurora set the older boy down on a bed of soft glowing grass she summoned with a wave of her hand. "He'll be okay," she said. Eli hugged his brother's sleeping form tightly, tears running down his cheeks. Aurora smiled again, her golden hair catching the sunlight that filtered through the trees. She turned away just a little, but Eli looked up. "Will I see you again?" Aurora paused. "Maybe." He looked down, disappointed. Then she knelt again, poking his nose. "But next time, you better not be running for your life. Okay?" Eli blinked at her, eyes still shining with tears, but a small smile playing on his lips now. He clutched his brother's hand tighter, feeling the warmth slowly return to the older boy's skin. His chest rising, breathing calm. It gave him strength. Aurora rose again, her pale blue dress shimmering like a ripple over a still lake. Her golden eyes, soft but searching, settled on Eli. "Do you want to come with me?" she asked. Eli stared, heart thudding. "See, come with you?" She nodded gently. "Not forever. Not if you don't want to. But you and your brother, you're not safe here. Not anymore." Eli looked around the forest. The torn branches, the glowing embers where bullets had shattered, the silence still hanging in the air like the forest was holding its breath. "Where would we go?" he asked, almost a whisper. Aurora's eyes brightened. "Just a little. Somewhere far from here. A place where no one can find you unless you want to be found." Eli turned and looked at his brother. "Will he be okay?" "He'll wake soon," she said. "Tired, but whole. I promise." Eli looked down, fidgeted with the hem of his shirt. then back up at her. Do you have a house? She smiled, crouching a little to meet his eyes again. A big one, made of light and clouds and trees. It floats sometimes. We even have a library where the books whisper your name. His eyes lit up. Really? MHM. She nodded. And a garden where the fruit glows, and a lake that reflects the stars even during the day. Eli looked down at his brother. Can we bring him? Aurora tilted her head. I wouldn't ask you to come without him. The boy hesitated, his little fists clenched at his sides. What about our stuff? Our clothes? Aurora chuckled, standing tall again. We'll get new ones. You'll look good in white. He paused. Then, okay. She smiled. Okay. Okay. He looked determined now, I said. But only if he's really coming too. Of course, Aurora said. Chapter 178. Asterius 1. The golden plains shimmered under the strange triple light of the sky. Joshua stepped forward cautiously. The roads of silver stone glowed faintly beneath his boots with each step, like they were reacting to him. No one else. Just him. He stopped and glanced down. Guys. The rest of the group was still busy gawking at the towering spires and the unreal skyline, but Varian turned sharply, narrowing his eyes. What happened? Joshua lifted his foot, then set it down again. The road pulsed. Softly, a gentle blue ripple spread outward like someone had dropped a pebble into a pond. Kael'thar moved to his side, muttering, The stones are responding, but only to you? Alice tilted her head, her silver-ringed eyes narrowing. Ha! Then suddenly, Sechenke. A loud mechanical sound echoed from the ground. Everyone turned fast. Draken had already drawn his blade halfway, just in case. The stone road beneath Joshua split with perfect precision, revealing a set of stairs leading down. Okay, that's new, Alfred said, blinking. Joshua, Varian said slowly. I think it's calling you. Me? Joshua pointed at himself. I didn't even do anything. You walked, Arya muttered. Apparently that's enough. Adam, who had remained silent beside Alice the whole time, just smiled faintly. It always starts simple. Joshua looked at the stairwell. It pulsed with a faint blue glow, inviting no waiting, like it had been sealed for eons and finally found the right fingerprint. He took a breath, then began to descend. The others followed behind him in silence. The air grew cooler the further they went. The steps spiraled down, deeper and deeper, walls lined with runes none of them recognized. They shifted and morphed, like living ink crawling across ancient stone. Alice stared at the walls, watching the runes avoid her touch. They're aware. Varian nodded grimly. Runic cognition. The Star Council developed that tech during the Twilight Cycle. These aren't just walls. They're sensors, maybe even alive. At the base of the staircase, the space opened into a massive underground chamber, like a hidden cathedral. Pillars of crystal arched toward the ceiling, glowing with soft internal light. At the center, a giant circular door stood embedded into the floor, surrounded by floating metallic rings. They rotated slowly, covered in the same glowing runes. Draken stepped forward cautiously. This is ancient tech, not arcane, definitely not divine. This is pure science. No, Adam corrected. This is star code. Alice narrowed her eyes. Joshua stepped closer. He did. The moment he crossed a certain invisible threshold, everything lit up. WHHRR. The rings around the circular platform began to spin faster. Runes glowed brighter. The floor beneath Joshua responded like it was syncing with something inside him. Joshua mumbled. Should I be worried? Probably, Alfred said honestly. Suddenly, SHHHHHHRK. A beam of light shot up from the circle, surrounding Joshua. The others took a step back. Joshua froze in place. Not because he couldn't move, he just felt like moving would mess something up. A humming vibration filled the room. Then the runes changed. They twisted into symbols that slowly rearranged to form. A question? Alice blinked. It's a puzzle. A question, Arya said, eyes scanning the runes. What does it say? Kaeldar translated quickly. Name the first axis that split the void. Silence. Wait, what does that even mean? Joshua said, half panicking. I'm not some ancient historian. Varian stepped up, thinking fast. It's a test. A lock question. The void existed before anything, so the first axis is likely the first dimension that gave orientation. Time.
Alfred Gusset.
Too obvious, Kaeldar muttered. Try direction or space. Alice frowned. No, it's consciousness. Everyone stared at her. The moment something became aware of itself, she continued, the void split. That awareness created duality. Before that, it was just nothing. Joshua looked unsure but raised his voice. Consciousness. The runes paused, froze mid-glow. Then, ting, a soft chime. The circle of rings stopped spinning. The beam vanished. The seal broke with a hiss of ancient air. PSSSHHHK. The giant door in the floor cracked open, stones splitting like petals. A lift platform rose up from beneath, glowing with runes and dusted with age. Everyone exhaled. Okay, Joshua said, stepping back. That was mildly terrifying. And it's only the first lock, Adam murmured. They stepped onto the platform. It descended smoothly, no gears, no movement, just floating down in a gravity-defying hum. The next chamber was darker, wider, endless. It looked like space itself had been hollowed out beneath the city. The walls weren't even visible anymore. Just stars, floating rocks, lights. A walkway extended out ahead of them. On either side, nothing.
Pure, silent void.
The air was heavier here. Alice's hair floated slightly around her, her eyes glowing as she focused. Space is thinner, fragile. At the end of the walkway was a monolith, pitch black, but ringed with gold. Pedestal waited at its base. Everyone looked at Joshua. He sighed. All right, I get it. I'm the chosen space key or whatever. He stepped forward. The monolith lit up. VRRRM. Runes spiraled upward, forming a cube of light above the pedestal. The light began to shift, morphing into a 3D projection of the solar system. No, a solar system. Multiple suns, orbiting one another. Moons and planets suspended in perfect motion. What is this?
Arya whispered.
A map, Draken said. But not of our world. Alice stepped forward, eyes wide. It's a replica of the realm spiral. Joshua reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the light. Flash. The whole system collapsed in on itself, reforming into a different configuration. Now it showed 4 planets aligned. A line connected them, glowing red. And a phrase appeared. Align the broken path. Everyone looked at each other. Kaeldar's eyes narrowed. This is another lock. But it's not a question, Alfred said. It's a puzzle. Joshua stared at the orbs of light representing the planets. Slowly, he reached out and moved them one by one. When he tried the wrong order, the light flared red and reset. After the third failure, the platform beneath them started to crack. I don't think we're getting infinite tries, Alfred muttered. Think.
Arya snapped.
Broken path. Maybe the ancient trade route between the starborn cities. No, Varian said suddenly. It's emotional. The Star Council had an old proverb. When the mind falters, the path breaks. When hearts align, the path heals. Joshua stared at the planets. Then maybe. He shifted the last 2 into place, aligning them so the lines weren't perfectly straight but curved, like a heart. The cube pulsed, then shattered. Ting. The chamber responded. Far above, a spiral of starlight opened, like a lens turning. And there, descending slowly through the air like a descending god, was a door, or maybe a vault. Shimmering metal, swirling glass. Thousands of locks ticking into place and unticking just for them. Adam tilted his head. Welcome, he murmured, to the vault of the Star Council. They stepped through the final threshold into a silent, massive room. Not cold, not warm, just vast. In the center sat a throne, not for sitting but for sinking. Wires and lights curled around it. It looked ancient, beautiful, alien. A chair built for one. Everyone stared at it. But the floor beneath it lit up, again only for Joshua. "This one's definitely for you," Alice said, stepping back. Joshua approached slowly. "If this thing kills me, someone better resurrect me just so I can punch Adam."
Adam Simirket.
Joshua sat down. The moment his back touched the seat, crack. Not a sound, but a flash. Information flooded his brain like liquid lightning. Symbols, names, coordinates, whole star charts rushed into his head. His eyes rolled back. He gasped. Reality bent around him. And then, he understood. When his eyes opened again, they were glowing softly. "There's a key," he whispered. "Somewhere beyond Carrion Soul. A hidden system locked with spatial coordinates that only this vault could reveal." "What's it unlock?" Draken asked. Joshua looked at them. "A weapon. Or maybe a prison. Or both. The name is Asterius." Everyone fell silent. Then Alice said quietly, "We'll need to go there." Joshua nodded. "And I think the vault already set the path for us." Behind them, a rift opened. Not a portal, but a corridor of starflight, winding through realms unseen. Adam stepped forward, placing a hand on Joshua's shoulder. "You did good," he said. Joshua smiled faintly, still catching his breath. "I don't even know how." "You didn't need to," Adam said. "This is your chapter after all." And as they stepped toward the rift, one by one, the vault of the Star Council dimmed behind them. Their next journey had already begun. Chapter 179, Asterius II. The corridor of starflight unraveled like a river of pure light, bending across realms with impossible grace. One step and the team was pulled through.
No fanfare.
No rush of wind, just the quiet hum of drifting stars as they passed into a new world. And then, they arrived. It was like falling into a dream. The world of Asterius wasn't a planet. Not really. It was a massive floating structure. A fortress the size of a continent, suspended above a churning cosmic sea. Broken moons drifted around it like shattered beads. The sky was neither day nor night, just a gradient of color from violet to gold, with constellations that shifted like breathing creatures. Asterius itself was a relic. Tall spires of black steel, lined with flowing light. Giant doors sealed with sigils that pulsed with life. Floating platforms moved like clockwork, revealing layers upon layers of machinery and forgotten systems. Everything about this place felt ancient but not abandoned. It was waiting. Joshua stepped forward, blinking at the sheer scale. "Holy crap! That," Alfred said slowly, "is the biggest door I've ever seen." The gate in front of them stretched into the clouds. It was carved with thousands of interlocking glyphs, moving in slow circles. And right in the center, a circular emblem. A winged eye bound in chains. Joshua shivered. Draken stepped up beside him. "That's the seal of the one-winged god." Joshua turned. "The what now?" Varian stepped forward, his boots clicking gently against the obsidian floor. His expression was strange, almost reverent. He tilted his head toward the gate. "Asterius, the final vault. This place doesn't just hold power. It holds truth." Alice narrowed her eyes. "Truth? Not the kind you find," Varian said. "The kind that wakes you up." Arya crossed her arms. "And what exactly is supposed to wake Joshua up?" Varian looked at him. "You." Then the seal on the gate cracked. Just a sliver. And he walked through. Zariel. His steps echoed before his body fully came into view. Light bent around him. The air seemed to hold its breath. He was tall, taller than Draken even, lean but powerful. His skin was pale like starlight kissed by shadow. His long silver hair drifted like it was underwater, tipped with black. One glowing eye golden like the sun, the other pitch black like a dying star. And from his back, a single wing. Not feathery, not demonic. Fusion. The upper half was pure white, radiant and ethereal. The lower half was jagged, shadowy, with black flames flickering along its edge. Where the two met, they twisted together, light and darkness caught in an eternal dance. He wore armor, but not of any known world. It looked grown, not forged. Plates of living crystal etched with runes that breathed softly with each movement. And around him,
Graffiti bent.
power hummed, quiet, subtle, but real. Joshua's body stiffened instantly. Who? But before he could finish, Varian rushed forward. His eyes were wide, full of something Joshua had never seen in him before. Zariel! Varian dropped to one knee. I never thought. After all these cycles, the others exchanged looks. Even Adam raised an eyebrow. Joshua blinked. Wait, you know this guy? Varian smiled like a kid seeing a childhood hero. I don't just know him. I followed him. Before the Star Council. Before the Realm Spiral even formed. Zariel was our vanguard. Our blade. He was the one who stood at the edge of creation and said, "Let there be a door." Alice frowned. Okay, you're starting to sound like a cultist. I mean it, Varian said, standing now. He's not a god, not a devil. He was both and neither. A balance. A concept made flesh. Joshua just stared. Zariel's eyes locked onto him, and for a moment time stopped. Then he spoke. His voice was soft, deep, echoed slightly like he wasn't just talking through air. So this is what I became. Joshua flinched. What? Zariel stepped forward slowly, stopping just a few meters away. You don't remember me, he said. But I remember you. Joshua's mouth opened and closed. I'm sorry, what? Varian turned. Joshua, Zariel is you. Or rather, your first incarnation. Silence. Nope, Joshua said, backing up. Nope. Too much. I'm done. I'm out. Don't be stupid, Alice said flatly. You can't walk back to reality through a space corridor. Draken stepped in, arms crossed. I've heard rumors. The Star Council's final weapon wasn't a bomb. It was a being. A living seal that held back the rift. Joshua stared at Zariel. You were the weapon? No, Zariel said. I was the key. And now, I have to see if the key still fits. He raised a hand and the entire fortress reacted. Lights flared. Platforms moved. Energy surged around them. Joshua took a step back, his body instinctively trying to fight something it didn't understand. Wait. I didn't come here to fight. I came to. Zariel interrupted softly. To awaken. And to do that, you must face yourself. The air twisted. A circular arena rose around them. A smooth obsidian ring with floating runes, like a colosseum born from light and void. Zariel turned, walking to the center. He drew a blade from thin air, white on one side, black on the other. A thin line of red ran down the middle. Joshua didn't move, until Adam stepped up beside him and whispered, You're not alone, but this part, you do have to do yourself. Joshua looked around. Everyone was watching, even Varian, especially Varian. Joshua sighed, rolled his shoulders and walked forward. The arena. The moment Joshua stepped in, his clothes shifted. His jacket disappeared. His shirt turned black, etched with glowing blue lines. A strange energy pulsed through him. His breath caught in his throat. Zariel nodded. Good. The vault recognizes you. Joshua raised his hands. What am I supposed to do? I don't even have powers. Zariel moved like lightning. Clang. Their fists collided. Zariel's blade stopped inches from Joshua's face, blocked by a force Joshua didn't even know he had. Joshua's eyes widened. What the hell? Zariel smiled faintly. The power's always been there. It just needed a mirror. Joshua gritted his teeth. Then come on. They clashed. It wasn't a battle. It was a dance. Light and shadow. Speed and silence. Zariel moved like a ghost, always one step ahead. But with every hit, Joshua's body responded more. His punches left trails of light. His eyes glowed. Runes began forming under his skin. The others watched in stunned silence. He's adapting, Kaeldar whispered. Draken nodded.
No.
He's sinking. Alice narrowed her eyes. Zariel isn't trying to kill him. He's trying to unlock him. Zariel slashed again. Joshua caught it barehanded, the blade stopping with a shockwave. Enough! Joshua shouted. Energy exploded outward. His hair lifted slightly. His veins glowed. His feet weren't touching the ground anymore. Zariel stopped. You're ready. Joshua hovered in midair, blinking. I am. Zariel stepped forward. He placed a hand on Joshua's chest. Then take it back. The winged mark, the same one on the door, glowed across Joshua's chest. It split. And then, flash, the power surged through him. Memories, names, stars, everything Zariel once was, now awakened within him, not replacing him, merging. When he opened his eyes again, he was still Joshua, but also more. I remember, he said softly. The platform lowered. The runes dimmed. The battle was over. Zariel stepped back, fading slowly into the air like stardust. My part is done. Yours begins. And then he was gone. Varian knelt again, whispering something in a forgotten language. The others stared at Joshua, who floated gently to the ground, light still glowing around his hands. Alice walked up first. Okay, she said. So what now? Joshua looked toward the heart of Asterius. Now we open the real door. And behind them a second gate stirred. The path had only just begun. Chapter 180. The Power of Zariel. Loop. The aftershock of the battle lingered in the air. Joshua stood at the center of the ancient platform, head bowed, chest rising and falling with each breath. A faint glow still pulsed beneath his skin. Not bright, not wild, just steady, alive. No one said anything at first. It wasn't because they didn't want to. It was because they couldn't. Something had changed. And not just with Joshua. The room itself had shifted. The air didn't resist him anymore. The pressure that had weighed down on them since arriving in Asterius was gone. Like the fortress had accepted him. Like it knew who he was. Joshua finally looked up, his eyes glowing faintly gold on one side and black on the other. I'm still me, he muttered. Technically, Draken said, arms crossed. You're a past lives fusion reincarnated chosen hybrid messiah of some kind. But sure, you're you. Joshua squinted. You made that sound way worse than it needed to be. Because it is worse, Arya whispered. Your aura's different. I can feel it. Varian stepped forward, smile wide, voice shaking just a bit. Joshua, you've done what even the council feared you might never achieve. You didn't just awaken. You synced. Zariel's memories, powers, instincts. They're yours now. But they didn't take over. Joshua blinked. So, what does that actually mean? Varian raised a finger, and a sudden ripple of energy shot out from Joshua's body. The stone beneath his feet shifted colors. Reality flexed. Not broke, just rippled. Alice staggered. Did he just warp space without trying? Draken frowned. He didn't even channel it. Varian nodded slowly. His mere presence now adjusts the physics around him. He doesn't cast powers. He is the power. Joshua took a step forward and blinked. He was already 10 meters ahead. He turned around. Did I just?
Yup. Adam mutteret.
Instant movement. Subconscious teleportation. Joshua looked down at his hand and raised it slowly. A black and white flame flickered to life in his palm. It didn't burn. It didn't crackle. It just was. A stable, quiet flame of existence and erasure at the same time. Void flame, Varian whispered. One of Zariel's oldest abilities. A fire that consumes both matter and spirit. Balanced with creation spark. The flame that can bring something back. He raised his other hand. A second flame appeared. Golden. Warm. Joshua stared at them both. That's crazy. You haven't even scratched the surface, Draken said. Try focusing on something. The thought. A place. Joshua closed his eyes. For a moment, nothing. Then, a tear opened in the space beside them. Portal. Small. Wobbly. But it was there. Through it, the edge of a ruined field. Black grass. Crimson skies. Varian's eyes widened. That's the wounded world. That's a sealed realm. Joshua stared in disbelief. I didn't mean to do that. I just thought about it. Varian stepped beside him. You're not accessing portals. You're remembering them. Zariel wasn't bound by distance. He walked through memories of space. Joshua rubbed his head. Man, that's going to give me a headache. A sudden boom rang out. Everyone turned. Joshua had accidentally created a gravity shift just by scratching his head. His aura was fluctuating, shimmering between celestial and abyssal. Alice stepped back. Hey. Control your aura, dude. You're pulling moons out of alignment. I can't, Joshua barked. It's just doing it on its own. Kaeldar grunted. You're leaking. Your body's not used to channeling this much divine abyssal energy. You need a core filter. I need a nap. I second that, Alfred muttered. Just watching this is exhausting. Joshua exhaled, then focused hard. With effort, the aura dimmed. And finally, silence returned. Varian walked up slowly, voice soft again. There's more. When Zariel reached full awakening, he could speak words that bent reality. He called them world keys. Joshua frowned. Like spells. Not spells. More like verbal commands written into the source code of existence. One word could create a planet. Another could erase one. Joshua raised an eyebrow. You're kidding. You want to try one? Varian asked, smirking.
Hell no.
Smart, Draken said. You'd probably erase our lungs by accident. Joshua turned, walking toward the edge of the arena. So what now? I've got wings I can't use, flames I don't understand, and memories that keep showing me wars from 12 universes ago. That doesn't make me some savior. No, Varian said, following him. But it makes you dangerous. To the wrong people. Joshua looked back at him. And to the right ones? Varian smiled. It makes you hope. Adam stepped forward, patting Joshua's back. You're gonna need training. Lots of it. You think awakening means you're strong now? Nah, this was just unlocking the door. What's behind it? He pointed at Joshua's chest. That's where the real power is. Later that night, a quiet ledge in Asterius. Joshua sat alone, legs dangling over the edge, staring into the starless abyss below. His hands still glowed faintly. The flames danced along his fingers, flickering between light and dark. He sighed. You ever feel like you didn't ask for any of this? He muttered. Zariel's voice echoed faintly in his mind. You didn't, but you're the only one who can carry it. Joshua looked up. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Behind him, the others had already started preparing. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. But for now, Joshua sat with his power, with his past, and with the future just beyond the next door. Elsewhere, somewhere far beyond the stars, in a realm twisted and broken by time, a dark figure sat on a jagged throne made of shattered worlds and withered bones. The sky above boiled with crimson storms. Screams echoed through the wind like whispers of the damned. The architect of ruin slowly opened his eyes. A pulse, a tremor, a ripple in the void. He felt it. Zariel had awakened. TCH. His frown deepened, sharp eyes narrowing as he leaned forward. So, the brat's finally done it, he muttered, voice low, cold, dripping with ancient hate. He's unlocked it. That power that never should have been his in the first place. He stood up. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Good. His hand clenched into a fist, shadows coiling around it like chains. His wings, one skeletal, the other metallic and corrupted, spread out slowly. Very good. His lips curled into a wicked grin. When I rip that cursed source out of his fragile little chest. His eyes gleamed. One a void of stars, the other a burning sun. It will be the most satisfying moment in all creation. And then, he laughed. Loud, long, unhinged. Ha 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 ha. The sound tore through the sky. Mountains cracked. Entire cursed lands trembled at the echo. He tilted his head back, laughing like a man who'd waited eons for revenge and was now just close enough to taste it. Ha 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 ha. He stopped suddenly, a crooked smile still lingering. Come, Zariel, he whispered, almost lovingly. Let's finish what we started, and let the stars bleed.